Ever wondered what secrets ancient artifacts could reveal? Welcome to Unearthed Secrets, where we explore history's hidden stories. Today, we'll uncover 15 remarkable artifacts that have survived for thousands of years. Hit subscribe, like the video, and tell us where you're watching from and the time there. Let's dive into the past. The stag that danced in bronze. Beneath the windswept skies of Anglesey, where the mist rolls in from the Irish Sea and the reeds whisper over still waters, lies a place where time once held its breath. Carrig Bach. To most, it is a quiet lake, half hidden among the meadows and the low hills. But to those who have studied the Earth's slow memory, it is something else entirely, a mirror to the Iron Age soul. It was here, in the cool mud at the edge of the lake, that a bronze stag lay sleeping for over 2,000 years, buried with spears, chains, shields, and chariot fittings, all offerings to unseen gods who watched from the sky. No one knows the name of the people who placed it there. The Celts who lived across this land left behind few words but countless symbols. They believed that lakes were doorways, thresholds between the world of the living and the realm of the divine. Into these waters they threw their treasures, not as waste, but as whispers of devotion. Each object was a prayer made solid, a story melted into metal. The bronze stag was one such offering, small enough to hold, yet so alive in its form that it seemed ready to leap from the water's edge, its head raised in eternal grace. The stag was found by chance in 1942, as the war reshaped Europe and men dug trenches not for gods but for airplanes. Workers expanding a runway near the lake unearthed something unexpected: pieces of bronze, tangled chains, broken weapons. Among them was the stag. When they brushed away the earth, they revealed a creature mid-motion, head tilted, antlers curved like crescents of the moon. It was an image of vitality, a spirit frozen in dance. Archaeologists would later say it was likely from around the 1st century BCE, forged by hands that knew how to give life to metal without words or tools as we know them. It was not large, scarcely the length of a forearm, but its presence was commanding. The sculptor had captured not just the body of the animal, but something deeper, something spiritual. The surface of the bronze had long darkened with age, yet under lamplight it still seemed to pulse faintly, as though the life within had not yet gone out. Some said the stag represented the god Cernunnos, lord of beasts and wild things. Others saw it as the embodiment of renewal, for the stag sheds and regrows its antlers each year, mirroring the death and rebirth of nature itself. In ancient Celtic belief, animals were not merely symbols, they were teachers, companions, messengers. The stag, noble and elusive, belonged to both worlds, the forest and the sky, the physical and the sacred. To find one carved so beautifully, offered into the lake, was to find a bridge between human craft and divine meaning. Whoever made it must have believed the gods would see it shimmer beneath the surface, or perhaps see their reflection in its curved horns. The landscape around Carrig Bach holds its silence well. Even now, centuries after the offering, the water moves slowly, as though still cradling secrets. When archaeologists examined the site, they uncovered more than 150 objects: chains meant for captives, swords bent in ritual, fragments of chariots, bronze cauldrons once filled with feasts for unseen guests. Some items were damaged intentionally before being cast into the lake, as if their destruction was part of the offering itself, the final act of surrendering something precious to powers beyond understanding. The stag, however, was intact. Perhaps it had been placed carefully upon the water's surface, allowed to sink slowly like a leaf, rather than thrown. Its antlers were stylized yet symmetrical, its body slender but full of grace. When the ancient metalworker had cast it, he must have done so with reverence. Each curve, each line, carried intention, not for display, but for communion. It was art meant to be lost, beauty meant to be unseen, except by gods. There's a strange poetry in that, the idea that so much skill, so much spirit, could be poured into something destined for disappearance. Yet perhaps that was the point. To give the finest of one's work to the unknown was a way of affirming faith in the cycle of giving and return. What is offered is never truly gone, it merely changes realms. In that sense, the bronze stag still dances, though unseen, its motion eternal beneath the veil of time. When the stag was displayed in a museum for the first time, visitors felt something quiet stir within them. Its simplicity seemed to hold wisdom, its age a soft defiance against the noise of modernity. Some who stood before it said they could feel the pull of the land, the echo of horn calls in the hills. Others simply felt peace, as though they had stumbled upon something sacred by accident. Archaeologists studied its form, the hollow cast body, the stylized legs, the triangular snout, and marveled at its precision. They traced the alloy's composition, noting that the metal likely came from distant sources, traded across tribes, carried through networks of barter and trust. That meant the stag was not only a work of art, but a link between peoples, the product of movement and exchange. Somewhere far from Wales, copper and tin were mined, smelted, shaped and transported, all to end here, in a small lake at the edge of the known world. And yet the mystery remains: why a stag? Why here? Why then? Some historians believe it marked the end of a ritual hunt, a symbolic gesture to the spirit of the forest. Others think it honored a fallen leader, whose soul was guided by the stag into the afterlife. In Celtic art, the stag often accompanies warriors in both life and death, its presence a sign of transition. Perhaps the man or woman who offered it believed it would help bridge the worlds, ensuring that the spirit of the people endured as the seasons turned. If you walk by Llyn Cerrig Bach today, you might not see the traces of those ancient rituals, but you can still feel them. The wind carries whispers across the water, and the reeds bend in rhythms that seem older than language. The same clouds that watch the offering drift still pass overhead, and the same lake still hides its slow memories beneath the surface. The Bronze Age may be gone, but its breath lingers in the soil, and in that stag of bronze, immortalized by chance. To imagine the night it was placed there is to imagine a gathering under twilight, torches flickering, the smell of peat and smoke, priests chanting softly, in a tongue long forgotten. Warriors standing in silence, their weapons gleaming, their faces lit by flame, a small bronze figure lifted with care, kissed by the high priest, then lowered toward the waiting lake. Perhaps it was accompanied by a prayer, not written, not spoken aloud, but understood, a gesture to ask for victory, for harvest, for protection, and then, a release, a ripple, a vanishing into darkness. The next morning, the offering would have disappeared. The lake, calm again, would give no sign, and yet for those who had stood by, the act itself would have been enough. To give something beautiful to the unseen was to acknowledge the vastness of life and their place within it. Centuries later, that moment would resurface in the hands of men with shovels and curiosity instead of faith. They would lift the same bronze figure from the earth, not as an offering, but as a discovery, and still, it would work its quiet magic. For even now, when we look upon it, we feel that old impulse awaken, the desire to connect to something beyond ourselves, to make sense of beauty and purpose in the stillness of time. The bronze stag of Llyn Cerrig Bach reminds us that faith, art, and memory are never truly lost. They only rest, waiting patient as the earth, until the right hands bring them back to light. Its antlers still seem to catch echoes of the moon. Its eyes, though made of metal, still seem to see something we cannot. And if you listen closely enough, you might almost hear it, the faint whisper of hooves over water, the rhythm of life meeting eternity. The horses that never stopped running. They stand in quiet stillness now, their legs frozen mid-stride, muscles tense beneath the sheen of ancient glaze. But there was a time when these horses ran, not across real fields, but through the imagination of a civilization that worshipped their grace. They were molded from earth, yet they carried the weight of heaven's symbolism, messengers between worlds, between emperors and eternity. The Tang dynasty horses, with their glossy bodies and proud postures, have survived 1,000 years of dust and silence, yet their motion never truly stopped. In the dim light of a museum, or beneath the soil where they once slept, you can almost hear the faint echo of hooves on ancient roads. In the heart of China, during the Tang dynasty, beauty and power were often sculpted into form. From the 7th to the 10th century, artisans shaped clay not only to decorate life, but to preserve it. Horses held a sacred place in that world. To the Tang, the horse was not just an animal, it was a symbol of movement, trade, status, and soul. It represented vitality, prosperity, and the unbroken flow of time. The ceramic horses were often found in tombs, standing beside the resting places of nobles and generals, frozen in eternal gallop. Each figure was more than art, it was a vessel for memory, crafted to carry the spirit of its owner into the afterlife. Their creation began in quiet workshops where potters and sculptors worked by lamplight, their hands dusted with clay. The artisans were anonymous, their names lost, but their touch remains immortal, in the curves of every mane, in the delicate shape of the nostrils, the tension in each flank. The clay came from riverbeds, soft and pale, kneaded and molded until it yielded to intention. Some were painted with slip, others with lead-based glazes that shimmered when fired. Yellows, greens, creams, and browns melting into one another like sunlight on silk. Sanchai, the three-color glaze, became a Tang signature. And though the colors have faded with centuries, they still pulse faintly beneath the surface, a memory of brilliance that refuses to die. In those days, horses were the measure of empires. The Tang dynasty stretched its borders wide, from the deserts of Central Asia to the forests of Korea, and with its expansion came the need for speed. Horses brought messages, bore soldiers, and carried goods along the Silk Road. The animals were revered almost as divine. In Chang'an, the imperial capital, officials recorded the lineage of each prized horse as carefully as that of any noble family. There were festivals where they were paraded, competitions where they danced, and in death, when an elite was laid to rest, the image of the horse followed, sculpted, glazed, and placed beside the tomb, a companion for eternity. In one tomb outside Xi'an, archaeologists found a team of ceramic horses arranged as though pulling an invisible chariot. Their necks arched, mouths slightly open, eyes alive with motion. Each was unique, as though modeled from a real horse, once known by name. Beneath their hooves, the floor was painted with faint traces of swirling clouds, perhaps to suggest their journey to the heavens. There were thousands of such tomb figurines across the empire, dancers, musicians, warriors, and always, the horses. The Tang believed that in the afterlife, one should travel as in life, with grace, with speed, with pride. It's easy to imagine the moment they were made. A craftsman stands before a block of wet clay, shaping it into the outline of a stallion. He does not rush. His fingers move with ritual precision. He knows that what he creates will outlast him, will perhaps one day speak for his age. Around him the workshop hums softly, apprentices grinding pigments, the air thick with the smell of earth and smoke. In a corner, half-finished horses stand drying, their bodies dull and gray, waiting for fire to awaken their color. Outside, the real horses whinny in stables, unaware that their likenesses are being immortalized in clay. When the sculptures were complete, they were glazed. The thick, luminous sansai dripped and pooled in unpredictable ways, creating marbled patterns that looked almost alive. Yellow for the earth, green for vitality, white for purity. Then they were fired, their colors fusing into permanence. Each piece emerged from the kiln, not identical but individual, as if the fire had given it personality. Some horses seemed calm, others fierce, others noble and tired. The Tang artisans didn't just replicate form, they captured spirit. Centuries passed. The empire that had birthed them fell. The tombs were sealed, then forgotten. Dynasties rose and crumbled like sand dunes. And still, beneath layers of soil, the ceramic horses waited, untouched, unbroken. When archaeologists began to unearth them in the 20th century, the world that opened was one of elegance and belief. These were not lifeless relics but memories, each one whispering of the people who once walked among them. One such horse, found near Luoyang, had a single ear chipped and a faint crack across its chest, yet it remained stunningly whole, its glaze gleaming under a layer of dust. The archaeologists described it as if they had encountered a living creature. The eyes, darkened by centuries, still seemed to hold a spark. When the sun fell upon it, the horse seemed almost to breathe. In that quiet, suspended moment, time folded. Tang artisans, their patrons, and the modern excavators all connected by a single gaze frozen in clay. To understand these horses is to understand the Tang worldview, a culture that celebrated the transient through art that aspired to eternity. The horses were both realistic and idealized. Their bodies reflected the breeds of the steppe, imported through trade with Persia and beyond. Tall, strong, elegant animals bred for long journeys. But their postures, often stylized with lifted hooves and arched necks, suggested movement beyond physical reality, the horse as a cosmic traveler. They stood for energy itself, for the cycle of life and afterlife, for unending motion. Many of the Tang tomb figurines were created in sets. Horses were often paired with attendants, grooms, warriors, or women holding reins. Each had its place, its purpose, forming a scene meant to echo life's order. The noble would rest surrounded by all they might need. Food, servants, musicians, and the horses, always the horses, waiting to carry them into the next realm. In the stillness of the museum where one of these horses stands today, the air hums faintly with the sound of people moving past, whispers, and footsteps mingling with time. A child looks up, eyes wide. To them, it's just a statue. But for those who know, the horse is more than art. It's continuity. It's the sound of hooves on the road to Chang'an, the scent of incense in a tomb newly sealed, the weight of belief that beauty could conquer death. The Tang artisans couldn't have known how far their creations would travel, not across kingdoms but across millennia. Yet they endure, their glazes still radiant. Even their imperfections are beautiful, the cracks like veins of age, the chips like old scars. They remind us that time doesn't destroy meaning, it deepens it. The horses that never stopped running continue their journey, not through fields or skies, but through the hearts of those who see them. And as night falls over the lands they once knew, the old road from Xi'an to Dunhuang glows in imagination. You can almost picture them, those real horses, long gone, galloping through the desert wind, manes catching the moonlight, echoing the immortal ones made of clay. The Tang Empire dreamed of eternity, and in these sculptures perhaps they found it. The horses run still, not in motion, but in memory. Their hooves never touched ground, yet they left tracks across time. The relics that whispered enlightenment. The story of Sanchi Stupa begins long before the first stones were laid. Long before the idea of commemorating the Buddha through architecture existed in the Indian subcontinent. In the fertile lands of central India, where the Vindhya hills rise gently from the plains, a quiet dedication to the spiritual life was taking shape. a devotion that would echo across centuries and civilizations. Here, amid the calm of flowing rivers and whispering forests, a site emerged that would become a beacon of faith and an enduring repository of history, a place where the relics of the Buddha, believed to hold the essence of his being, were safeguarded for generations. These were not merely stones or bones. They were the embodiment of devotion, memory, and human effort, the silent witnesses of a world in transformation. As you imagine the stupa rising from the earth, picture the careful hands of the artisans and devotees who laid each stone, each brick, each intricate carving with purpose and reverence. The main stupa at Sanchi is a hemispherical dome, simple at first glance, yet profoundly symbolic. It represents the universe, the mound of earth on which humanity stands, and within it rest the relics that connect the physical world to the spiritual. Pilgrims, monks, and travelers approach the site, their footsteps tracing circular paths around the stupa, an act known as pradakshina, each step a meditation, a prayer, a reflection on impermanence and devotion. In this quiet movement, the stupa itself became a living instrument, measuring the passage of time, the rhythm of faith, and the endurance of human hope. The relics themselves, carefully enshrined within the core of the stupa, carried stories far beyond the simple physicality of bone or ash. They were the embodiment of the Buddha's teachings, the Dharma, and the Sangha, the community of followers. When a pilgrim gazed upon the stupa, even without entering the inner sanctum, there was a sense of communion with something far greater than themselves. Imagine the serene faces of worshippers centuries ago, bowing before the stupa under the warm sun, their hands folded in respect, their hearts touched by the profound simplicity and universality of the relic's presence. Each relic acted as a focal point, a channel through which the ineffable could be approached, even if never fully comprehended. Over the centuries, the stupa was expanded, adorned, and meticulously maintained. Pillars rose around the perimeter, carved with scenes from the Buddha's life and the lives of devotees. Every frieze, every engraving told stories not just of the Buddha, but of the society that revered him, of their aspirations, their fears, and their hopes. Carvings of elephants, lions, and celestial beings adorned gateways, each symbol chosen deliberately to convey moral lessons, cosmic truths, and the harmonious order of life. Walking beneath the carved Taranas, the intricacy of each depiction communicated stories of virtue, sacrifice, and the subtle interplay between the mortal and the divine. The artisans, long gone, left behind messages encoded in stone, messages of humanity, compassion, and the pursuit of understanding. Consider the daily life of those who maintained and venerated the stupa. Monks would rise at dawn, chanting sutras, the vibrations of their voices resonating through the stone courtyards. Candles flickered in small niches, casting dancing shadows on the reliefs, revealing glimpses of figures frozen in eternal devotion. Visitors brought offerings of flowers, fruits, and incense, each act reinforcing a cycle of gratitude, reverence, and spiritual discipline. The relics within the stupa were never merely objects, they were active participants in the life of the monastery and the surrounding village, shaping rituals, calendars, and the rhythm of existence. Time itself seemed measured not by sun and moon alone, but by the cycles of devotion, the prayers repeated each day, the steps traced by countless pilgrims. The architecture of Sanchi Stupa is profoundly purposeful. The hemispherical dome, the central relic chamber, the surrounding Taranas, and the stone railings all serve not only aesthetic purposes but spiritual ones. The stupa's form is a three-dimensional mandala, a sacred map, guiding the devotee's mind from the mundane to the transcendent. The relics at the heart of the stupa acted as the axis mundi, the pivot around which the universe of devotion revolved. Every procession, every circumambulation, every whispered prayer was a recognition of the sacred center within, a meditation on the impermanence of life, the continuity of faith, and the eternal resonance of enlightened wisdom. Even in times of political upheaval, when dynasties rose and fell, Sanchi endured. Kings, local rulers, and patrons contributed to its upkeep, each seeking spiritual merit and aligning their temporal power with the moral authority symbolized by the stupa. The relics remained a constant through centuries of change, silent yet eloquent, a testament to the endurance of spiritual pursuit amidst worldly turbulence. Imagine the intrigue of ancient travelers, arriving on dusty roads, their eyes catching the gleam of polished stones, the shadows cast by towering pillars, and knowing that within the dome lay the sacred remains that had inspired devotion for generations. Art historians, archaeologists, and scholars who came centuries later were drawn to Sanchi by both curiosity and reverence. They sought to understand not merely the physical structure, but the social, spiritual, and symbolic significance of the relics it protected. Excavations revealed stupas, monasteries, votive tablets, and inscriptions that painted a picture of a vibrant religious community, deeply engaged in philosophical inquiry, social cohesion, and artistic expression. Each artifact unearthed was a fragment of an enduring story, linking the present with a past that seemed simultaneously distant and intimately familiar. The relics, though silent, spoke volumes about human devotion, the quest for understanding, and the ways societies enshrine what they hold most sacred. Among the many discoveries at Sanchi, the diversity of relics is remarkable. There are bone fragments, ashes, votive offerings, and inscribed objects, each meticulously catalogued and preserved. Each relic tells a story of human reverence, of the painstaking care to honor what is greater than oneself. Some relics are simple, almost unassuming, yet they carry profound significance. Others are ornate, embellished with gold, semi-precious stones, or intricate carvings, each reflecting the devotion and skill of countless hands. Imagine the artisans who created these embellishments, working tirelessly with simple tools, their labor a bridge between earthly effort and divine aspiration. As centuries passed, Sanchi's significance evolved, drawing visitors from distant lands, connecting cultures through shared respect for the sacred. Pilgrims from the east and west traveled across deserts, rivers and mountains, carrying news of the stupa, marveling at its construction and feeling the quiet power of the relics contained within. It became a hub for learning, dialogue, and spiritual reflection, influencing Buddhist art and architecture across Asia. The relics at Sanchi were not only anchors of faith but catalysts for the spread of ideas, teachings, and artistic styles, resonating far beyond their immediate physical location. Consider the meditative quality of walking around the stupa today, as visitors do in hushed reverence. The rhythm of footsteps mirrors that of the monks centuries ago, connecting past and present in a subtle, almost imperceptible dance. The relics, though unseen beneath the dome, remain central to this experience, grounding the observer in a sense of continuity, impermanence, and spiritual reflection. The soft rustle of leaves, the distant bird calls, and the occasional touch of sunlight on the stone surfaces create an immersive environment that encourages contemplation, inviting each visitor to engage with the same mysteries that captivated ancient devotees. Sanchi Stupa's architectural and artistic legacy extends beyond mere devotion. It influenced neighboring regions, inspired subsequent Buddhist constructions, and became a symbol of cultural resilience. The relics inside are silent educators, teaching about human dedication, societal values, and the integration of belief, art, and daily life. They encourage reflection on mortality, morality, and the profound capacity of humans to create lasting symbols of their highest aspirations. The careful placement of each stone, the deliberate carvings, and the meticulous preservation of relics collectively form a narrative that transcends time. A story told not in words but in presence, form, and ritual. As night falls over the stupa, imagine the quiet glow of moonlight illuminating the dome, the shadows of the carved gateways stretching softly across the courtyards. The relics within lie still, yet they radiate an enduring energy, a silent hum of centuries of devotion. Pilgrims resting nearby dream of the Buddha, of lives transformed by his teachings, and of the mysteries that the relics quietly guard. The stupa, the relics, and the surrounding landscape merge into a singular harmonious expression of faith, continuity, and human creativity. In understanding the relics of Sanchi Stupa, one is drawn to the realization that they are more than historical objects. They are living bridges between time, place, and human experience. They embody the intersection of art, devotion, and philosophy, serving as reminders that history is not only written in texts but etched in stone, preserved in ritual, and carried forward in the quiet act of remembrance. Every visitor, every scholar, every monk who has approached Sanchi over the millennia has engaged in this ongoing dialogue with the relics, participating in a continuum that transcends individual lifetimes and personal histories. To imagine the relics as they were first enshrined is to envision a moment of sacred care, the careful placement within a stone casket, the sealing of chambers, the blessings chanted by monks, and the prayers whispered by devotees. These relics were never meant to be hidden. They were meant to communicate across time, to inspire reverence, to offer a tangible link to the transcendental. Each relic, in its quiet dignity, challenges observers to reflect on impermanence, the sacred, and the enduring impact of faith and human endeavor. Sanchi Stupa continues to invite reflection, study, and pilgrimage. It is a place where history, spirituality, and art converge, where the relics within offer a silent, yet profound education in devotion and human creativity. To walk its paths, to observe its carvings, and to sense the presence of the relics is to engage with a lineage of thought and belief that has persisted for over 2 millennia. The stories that the relics carry, though wordless, resonate with the same clarity today as they did in centuries past, bridging the chasm of time and inviting each of us to contemplate the eternal, the sacred, and the profoundly human. The relics of Sanchi Stupa remind us that history is not only the chronicle of kings and wars, but also the record of human devotion, creativity, and aspiration. They whisper lessons in humility, continuity, and the pursuit of understanding. Each fragment, Each carefully preserved item is a testament to what humans can achieve when inspired by reverence, discipline, and imagination. To witness Sanchi is to witness a dialogue between past and present, a narrative of continuity, and a meditation on what endures when all else passes away. Through centuries of devotion, construction, artistic innovation, and spiritual practice, the relics of Sanchi Stupa have remained at the heart of a sacred journey. They teach that the most profound legacies are not those of conquest or accumulation, but of care, attention, and the nurturing of the sacred. They call us to observe closely, to reflect deeply, and to honor what endures, to recognize that even in silence, artifacts can speak volumes, carrying the accumulated wisdom and devotion of countless generations. The music that echoed empires. Imagine a world long before modern cities, before asphalt roads and glass skyscrapers, a world of mud brick cities, winding streets, and the quiet murmurs of daily life punctuated by the sounds of flutes, drums, and the occasional strum of a stringed instrument. In the ancient city of nestled in the fertile plains of southern Mesopotamia, there lay a music that has traveled through the ages, a music that continues to whisper across millennia. This music belonged to the lyre of an instrument of exquisite craftsmanship, delicate strings, and a history that seems almost impossibly preserved. It is a relic that not only held the notes of songs, but also the memories of kings, the laughter of banquets, and the solemnity of royal funerals. The lyre of was discovered in the early 20th century during excavations led by the British archaeologist Leonard Woolley. Deep within the royal tombs of amidst the carefully arranged remains of kings and nobles, archaeologists uncovered a treasure trove of artifacts, jewelry, ceremonial weapons, pottery, and most remarkably, musical instruments. Among these instruments, several lyres emerged, constructed from wood, adorned with gold, silver, and lapis lazuli, and preserved with an elegance that spoke to the care and reverence of their creators. The lyre of with its intricate inlays and finely tuned strings, was unlike any instrument most of the modern world had ever seen. Its very presence within the tombs suggested it was not merely a tool for entertainment, it was a companion for the journey into the afterlife, a vessel of both sound and spirit. To envision the lyre of is to imagine the artistry of Mesopotamia condensed into a single object. The soundboard, often made from a wooden frame that has since hardened with time, bore delicate carvings of animals, mythological creatures, and scenes of daily life. The strings, once taut and capable of producing a range of melodies, spoke to the skill of ancient musicians who had mastered the delicate balance between tension and resonance. Some lyres even featured decorative panels depicting the bull, the lion, and the unicorn, symbols of power, strength, and protection. In the hands of a musician, these lyres would not merely create notes, they would summon stories, evoke emotions, and serve as an auditory bridge between the living and the divine. Music in ancient Sumer was not an idle pursuit. It was intertwined with ritual, religion, and governance. The lyres of were played in temples, at banquets, and during ceremonial occasions. They were companions to priests, entertainers to kings, and solace to the grieving. The royal tombs themselves suggest that music accompanied the dead into the afterlife. To lie in a tomb surrounded by the instruments of life, to imagine the faint lingering hum of a stringed lyre, is to sense the profound role music played in shaping both memory and identity. Perhaps the lyre of was strummed for a king as he lay in state, its notes guiding his spirit, or played during celebrations that punctuated the rhythm of city life, marking moments of joy and sorrow alike. When Woolley and his team uncovered the lyres, they were astonished not only by their preservation, but by the depth of artistic mastery they represented. Gold inlays shimmered faintly in the dim light of the excavation tents, lapis lazuli glinted like tiny fragments of the night sky, and the wooden frames, though fragile, retained the outlines of their former beauty. Scholars soon realized that these were not merely musical instruments, they were storytelling devices, history inscribed in a medium of strings and wood. Each lyre could convey complex emotions, whether the triumph of conquest, the sorrow of loss, or the serene meditation of a prayer. The lyre of has since inspired countless reconstructions, attempts to hear the music of Sumer as it might have sounded thousands of years ago. Ethnomusicologists and instrument makers have painstakingly recreated these lyres, tuning the strings according to the best understanding of ancient scales and playing techniques. When played today, even in these reconstructions, the lyre evokes a sound both haunting and beautiful, a delicate resonance that carries the weight of ancient rituals and the ephemeral joy of celebrations long past. The notes are not mere sounds, they are echoes of a civilization that revered art, music, and the sacred interplay between life and death. In examining the lyre of we also glimpse the broader culture of Sumer. Music was intertwined with poetry, with the epic tales of Gilgamesh, with the prayers whispered in temples and the hymns sung to the gods. The lyre was both an instrument of expression and a conduit for divine inspiration. Its presence in royal tombs underscores the belief that music was eternal, a gift capable of transcending mortality. The musician who once strummed its strings might have believed that the sound could reach the heavens, a bridge of resonance connecting the earthly realm with divine domains. The imagery adorning the lyres is no less remarkable. Panels often depict a bull's head, a symbol of strength, or scenes of animals engaged in ritualistic dance. These motifs remind us that for the Sumerians, music was inseparable from the world around them, from the rhythms of agriculture to the cycles of the seasons, from the movements of celestial bodies to the heartbeat of urban life. The lyre becomes not just a musical instrument, but a reflection of the cosmos itself, a miniature universe where sound and sight converge. Consider the implications of such an artifact surviving thousands of years. The lyre of was buried, hidden and forgotten by the world, yet it has resurfaced to tell its story. It challenges our notions of permanence and impermanence, reminding us that human creativity, even in a world without modern technology, could leave indelible marks that resonate far beyond the lifetimes of their creators. In every carved detail and every reconstructed note, we hear whispers of the past, reminders that culture, art, and music are enduring legacies that bind generations together. The lyre of also sparks imagination about the musicians themselves. Who were they? What songs did they play? Did the lyre accompany the voice of a priest, the hands of a young apprentice, or the fingers of a master musician performing before royalty? The answers are lost to time. Yet the lyre serves as a vessel for these questions, inviting us to inhabit the spaces between history and imagination, to hear what once was, and to feel the profound intimacy between human creativity and ritual expression. As we reflect on the lyre of it becomes clear that it is more than an archaeological artifact. It is a reminder of the human desire to create, to communicate, and to leave a mark upon the world. Its strings, though silent now, resonate through our understanding of history, urging us to imagine the vibrant city of the bustling streets, the temples echoing with chants and music, and the quiet chambers of the royal tombs where life, death, and music intertwine seamlessly. Each note that might have once been played on its strings is a story, a memory, a fragment of an ancient civilization calling across time. The preservation of the lyre of along with other artifacts from the royal tombs, offers an unparalleled window into Mesopotamian life. From the intricate craftsmanship to the symbolic imagery, from the delicate balance of musical tension to the profound role of music in society, every aspect of the lyre speaks to a civilization that valued both the practical and the spiritual, both the aesthetic and the ceremonial. By studying this artifact, we gain not only insight into ancient technology and artistry, but also an understanding of the human spirit, which sought beauty, expression, and connection, even in the earliest urban centers of civilization. Even today, when musicians and historians attempt to play replicas of the lyre of the experience is deeply moving. The faint hum of the strings, the delicate vibrations, and the resonance within the reconstructed wooden frame offer a sensory connection to the past. It is as if, for a brief moment, we can hear the echoes of banquets, the solemnity of rituals, and the laughter and laments of ancient Mesopotamians. The lyre reminds us that music is timeless, that its power to move, console, and inspire is as potent now as it was nearly 5,000 years ago. The lyre of in its silent magnificence, continues to tell its story, a narrative of artistry, devotion, and the eternal human quest to understand and shape the world. It reminds us that every artifact carries with it layers of meaning, stories waiting to be rediscovered, and the enduring presence of human creativity. When we gaze upon it, we are not merely looking at wood and gold, strings and carvings. We are glimpsing the heartbeat of a civilization, a world where music, life, and the divine were inextricably linked, and where a single instrument could carry the whispers of an entire empire across the vast expanse of time. The lyre of stands as a testament to the enduring power of art, the universality of music, and the remarkable ability of human beings to create objects that transcend their immediate function. It teaches us that even thousands of years later, we can feel the echo of human presence, imagination, and expression. Each carved animal, each meticulously placed string, and each resonant note reconstructed by modern hands serves as a bridge between our world and the ancient city of a reminder that the past is never truly lost, that it speaks to us in subtle, haunting melodies, and that its stories, once heard, can resonate forever in the minds and hearts of those who listen. The tools that guarded a kingdom. Imagine a fortress perched high on the rugged hills of what is now Romania, a stronghold of the Dacians. A civilization whose echoes have survived only in the whispers of history. Here, long before modern borders and nations existed, the Dacians carved out a world defined by resilience, strategy, and artistry. The Sarmizegetusa fortress was not merely a collection of walls and ramparts. It was the heart of a kingdom, a living, breathing citadel where the fate of people, armies, and culture intertwined. Within its walls, the artifacts that archaeologists have unearthed, tools, weapons, and implements of daily life, tell stories as vivid as any written chronicle, revealing the rhythms, struggles, and triumphs of a people whose ingenuity was as formidable as their courage. Among these relics, the tools stand out not merely as instruments of survival or labor, but as silent witnesses to the life of a civilization on the brink of empire and conflict. Bronze chisels, iron hammers, and carefully crafted agricultural implements hint at a society deeply attuned to both craft and strategy. Every scratch, patina, and wear mark the passage of hands long vanished into time. They speak of blacksmiths working in dawn-lit forges, warriors sharpening weapons in anticipation of campaigns, and farmers tending terraced fields that stretched along the hillsides, feeding the heart of the fortress. Each tool, each artifact, is imbued with the energy of the people who wielded it, and through careful study, we begin to hear their whispers across centuries. The Dacians were masters of their terrain. Sarmize-Getusa itself is a marvel of ancient engineering, with its carefully laid stone pathways, fortified walls, and sanctuaries that held both practical and spiritual significance. The tools discovered here reveal the extent of their craftsmanship and their understanding of materials and techniques. Bronze axes, for example, were not only utilitarian, but also ceremonial, their shapes and engravings suggesting a symbolic or ritual significance alongside their functional role. Iron spearheads and arrow tips were forged for precision and balance, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of metallurgy and weaponry. As we imagine these objects in use, we see warriors training under the fading light of dusk, farmers tending soil enriched for generations, and artisans perfecting techniques passed down from ancestors. Beyond the battlefield and workshop, these artifacts speak to the daily life within the fortress walls. Cooking utensils, grinding stones, and simple farming tools hint at the routines and domestic lives of the people, suggesting a society where labor, family, and community were intertwined with defense and governance. The remnants of storage vessels and pottery indicate trade and resource management, revealing a kingdom that valued both preparation and preservation. The everyday objects, mundane yet vital, allow us to glimpse a continuity of human experience: meals prepared over open fires, children playing within earshot of watchtowers, and elders passing down stories while the fortress slept under the stars. Religion and ritual were inseparable from daily life. Temples and sanctuaries within Sarmizegetusa reveal a society that honored its deities, observed the cycles of the sun and moon, and understood the spiritual weight of tools and artifacts. Many of the implements, such as ceremonial daggers or intricately carved amulets, suggest that the Dacians imbued ordinary objects with extraordinary meaning. A simple iron chisel could carry a blessing. A bronze hammer might be offered to the gods before the building of a new wall. Through these artifacts, we sense a people who understood that material and spiritual worlds were intertwined, each action resonating beyond the physical realm. Sarmizegetusa was also a center of learning and governance. The Dacians, though often remembered in history for their conflicts with the Romans, cultivated knowledge and strategic intelligence. Tools used for measuring, construction, and planning hint at a society that was meticulous, innovative, and aware of its environment. Surveying instruments, weights, and carved wooden implements reveal an understanding of geometry, logistics, and resource management that allowed the fortress to endure in a challenging landscape. These artifacts testify not just to survival but to thriving under conditions that demanded ingenuity and foresight. As we explore the fortress through its material remnants, we also encounter the stories of resistance and adaptation. The Dacians faced relentless pressure from expanding empires, most famously the Roman campaigns that would eventually dismantle their strongholds. Yet within the walls, tools and weapons reveal resilience and ingenuity. Reinforced bronze shields, iron-tipped spears, and fortified gates show defensive strategies, while agricultural and domestic implements indicate careful planning to withstand sieges. The artifacts themselves are silent historians, speaking to both the triumphs and tragedies of the people who shaped them. Excavations at Sarmizegetusa also highlight the Dacians' artistry. Even utilitarian objects display intricate patterns, carefully chosen materials, and a refined aesthetic. Carved handles, etched designs, and polished surfaces indicate that these people valued beauty alongside utility. Such details remind us that civilization is not defined solely by grand monuments or written records, but also by the care and attention lavished upon the objects that structure daily life. In studying these artifacts, we reconnect with a humanity that spans millennia, recognizing that creativity, skill, and thoughtfulness were ever present. Trade and cultural exchange are further illuminated by these finds. Some tools and materials at Sarmizegetusa show influences or origins beyond the immediate region, suggesting networks of exchange, alliances, and interaction with neighboring peoples. Copper alloys, imported stones, and stylistic similarities with other European artifacts reveal a kingdom that was not isolated but actively engaged in the broader currents of ancient civilization. Each artifact thus becomes a node in a network of history, linking the Dacians to distant lands and complex interactions that shaped their world. As we reflect on the Sarmize-Getosa artifacts, it becomes clear that they are more than mere tools or weapons. They are vessels of memory, carriers of tradition, and storytellers of an ancient people. The bronze chisels, iron daggers, and carved ceremonial objects allow us to experience the fortress not as silent ruins, but as a living, breathing center of culture, defense, and ingenuity. We imagine craftsmen shaping metal, warriors strategizing under the watchful eyes of their leaders, and families maintaining continuity within the protective walls. Each piece carries the imprint of hands long gone, yet their echoes resonate across time, offering lessons about resilience, adaptation, and the human spirit. The study of these artifacts also opens questions about the Dacians' philosophy and worldview. Why were certain tools ritually significant? How did everyday objects become intertwined with governance, defense, and spirituality? What can these artifacts tell us about how societies balance the practical with the symbolic? In seeking answers, we do not merely reconstruct a historical timeline, we reconnect with the thought processes, priorities, and ingenuity of a civilization that shaped the landscape of Eastern Europe. Through the lens of the Sarmize-Getosa Dacian fortress artifacts, we witness a civilization that balanced war and peace, art and utility, survival and spirituality. Every object, from the humblest farming implement to the most ornate ceremonial dagger, conveys a narrative of human determination, creativity, and continuity. These artifacts are silent witnesses, bridging the millennia between the Dacians and us, allowing a glimpse into a world that might otherwise be forgotten. In the end, the Sarmize-Getosa artifacts remind us that history is not only found in grand monuments or written chronicles. It resides in the tools we use, the objects we craft, and the care we put into daily life. The bronze chisels and iron daggers, the ceremonial axes and carved amulets, all speak to a civilization that understood the power of both function and meaning. By studying these artifacts, we honor the Dacians' ingenuity, perseverance, and the rich tapestry of life they created, ensuring that their legacy continues to inspire and inform us even today. These tools, these objects, are more than relics, they are connections to a people whose ingenuity, skill, and spirit transcended the centuries, teaching us that even the smallest artifact can carry the weight of a kingdom, the memory of a fortress, and the story of a civilization that time could not erase. The game that played through time. The royal game of unearthed from the sands of ancient Mesopotamia in what is now Iraq, is far more than a mere board game. As you let your mind drift back over 4,000 years, imagine a world where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers cradled some of humanity's earliest civilizations, where the first cities began to rise from the dust, and where kings, priests, and merchants alike sought both entertainment and meaning in the artifacts they left behind. Among the treasures of this era, one seemingly simple object quietly endured the passage of time, a rectangular board inlaid with lapis lazuli and shell, intricately marked with squares, pathways, and symbols whose purpose once fascinated the people who played upon it. This is the royal game of a testament to human curiosity, strategy, and the timeless desire to challenge both fortune and skill. The game was discovered in the 1920s by Sir Leonard Woolley during his excavations of the Royal Cemetery at a city in southern Mesopotamia that had been a hub of political, economic, and cultural activity around 2600 BCE. Woolley, who meticulously unearthed the graves of kings and queens, came across not only lavish jewelry, elaborate musical instruments, and ornate weapons, but also these peculiar boards. Initially, their function was unclear. Were they ritual objects, tools of divination, or merely games of chance? Through careful study, comparison with later cuneiform tablets, and reconstruction of the playing pieces, scholars realized that these boards were designed for a two-player game, one that combined luck, strategy, and perhaps even elements of spiritual significance. Imagine the players themselves, seated on the woven mats of a grand hall, or within the shade of a mud brick home. Each would have a set of 7 small, polished pieces, probably made of shell, stone, or ivory. Dice. Not the cubical variety we are familiar with today, but tetrahedral 4-sided dice, determined the movement of these pieces along the intricate paths of the board. Each turn would carry anticipation and tension. The roll of the dice was the voice of fate, determining how far each token could advance. Every square represented not just a step in the game, but a metaphorical journey, one of survival, strategy, and perhaps the subtle acknowledgement of the gods' watchful presence over human endeavors. What makes the royal game of extraordinary is not just its age or the exquisite craftsmanship of the boards and pieces, but its remarkable endurance. Games from the distant past often vanish without a trace, their rules forgotten and their purpose lost to time. Yet this game has left enough traces that modern enthusiasts can play a version approximating how it might have been enjoyed thousands of years ago. Scholars like Irving Finkel of the British Museum painstakingly translated cuneiform instructions, reconstructing the rules from ancient texts, revealing that the game was more than entertainment. It carried layers of symbolism. teaching patience, strategic thinking, and perhaps even offering a playful rehearsal of life's uncertainties. Visualize the board itself, an oblong rectangle divided into 20 squares arranged in 3 rows. Some squares were marked with rosettes or other decorative motifs, indicating special spaces with unique rules. The lapis lazuli inlay gleamed like tiny pools of celestial blue, catching the light in the flickering glow of oil lamps. The pieces, polished to a subtle sheen, were moved with deliberate care, reflecting both a tactile and aesthetic appreciation for the objects themselves. This was not merely a pastime, it was an experience that combined skill, luck, and artistry in a way that modern board games seldom replicate. Beyond the mechanics, the royal game of offers a window into the society that created it. In ancient Mesopotamia, leisure was not separated from ritual or social hierarchy. Games like this may have been played in domestic settings, but also in temples and royal courts, possibly as divinatory tools or teaching instruments. Scholars have speculated that certain moves could have symbolized journeys of the soul, challenges of leadership, or the balance between fortune and merit. Each game was, in essence, a miniature reflection of life, played out on a finely crafted board that demanded attention, focus, and respect. The survival of these boards across millennia is a testament to the materials and techniques employed by their makers. The use of lapis lazuli, a semi-precious stone imported from as far away as Afghanistan, indicates not only access to far-reaching trade networks, but also the value placed on beauty and durability. Shells and stones were carefully inlaid, secured, and polished, creating a tactile experience that delighted the senses even as players navigated the intellectual challenge of strategy. Every corner, every inlay, and every carved motif spoke to a civilization that understood the importance of aesthetics, utility, and meaning. Consider also the cultural resonance of the game. As archaeologists uncovered similar boards in other parts of Mesopotamia, including Ur, Babylon, and beyond, it became evident that this form of gaming was widespread and beloved. It linked cities, families, and generations, creating shared experiences that transcended social strata. Kings, merchants, and perhaps even common citizens could have sat together, rolling dice and moving tokens, finding joy and instruction in the simple act of play. Through this game, we see not only the ingenuity of Mesopotamian artisans, but also the human universality of curiosity, competition, and imagination. Modern replicas of the royal game of have sparked renewed interest, allowing players today to engage directly with a past civilization in a way that textbooks cannot replicate. The rules, reconstructed with care, suggest a game that required careful thought, risk assessment, and an understanding of probability long before such concepts were formally studied. Each move, guided by dice and intuition, would have demanded foresight and adaptation, teaching patience and strategy to all who played. In a sense, this ancient pastime anticipated centuries of game theory, probability study, and competitive play that would emerge millennia later. The game also hints at broader Mesopotamian beliefs. The symbolic squares, the rosettes, and the movement along a fixed path may reflect cosmic patterns, life cycles, or moral lessons encoded into leisure. In a world where the gods were believed to influence every aspect of existence, even play was a mirror of divine order. Rolling the dice, advancing a piece, and strategically capturing an opponent's token could have been an act of learning the rhythms of fate itself, blending the mundane with the metaphysical. Even now, in a quiet museum display, the royal game of commands attention. Visitors trace the paths with their fingers, imagining the ancient hands that once guided each piece. Scholars debate nuances of the rules, students reconstruct gameplay, and enthusiasts experience a connection that transcends centuries. In this way, the game continues to speak, whispering its secrets across time, reminding us that even simple pleasures can endure as cultural touchstones, preserving the essence of human thought, creativity, and joy. As you reflect on the royal game of consider how an artifact, seemingly mundane, can serve as a bridge between epochs. A few pieces of stone, shell, and lapis lazuli, arranged thoughtfully on a board, encapsulate stories of social life, strategy, artistry, and divine reflection. It demonstrates that the past is not a static tableau, but a living narrative, accessible to those willing to look, imagine, and engage. Through this game, we glimpse the priorities, joys, and values of a civilization long vanished, but never forgotten. The royal game of is more than a board with pieces. It is a portal into human ingenuity, a lesson in patience and strategy, and a testament to the enduring nature of play. As modern players roll dice, follow ancient rules, and advance tokens along the carefully inlaid paths, they participate in a dialogue across time, bridging a gap of 4,000 years. In these small deliberate movements, the game whispers secrets of kings and commoners alike, reminding us that the human desire to challenge fate and delight in thought has always been part of our collective story. It is impossible not to be captivated by the sheer continuity of human experience that this game represents. Across millennia, the royal game of traveled from royal tombs to modern museums, inspiring scholars, gamers, and curious minds. Each dice roll, each tactical decision, each piece moved carefully along the board, forms a thread in a tapestry of shared humanity. By engaging with this artifact, we not only honor the craftsmanship of the past, but also participate in the same ancient rhythm of play, strategy, and reflection that our ancestors cherished. In the quiet moments, when one imagines the clatter of dice and the focused anticipation of the players, one realizes that this game, though long buried beneath the sands of continues to live in the minds and hands of those who study and play it today. Its survival is not merely physical, but cultural and intellectual, a testament to the timeless human fascination with challenge, chance, and creativity. The royal game of teaches us that even objects designed for entertainment can hold profound lessons about society, human psychology, and cosmology. It invites contemplation, urging modern observers to consider how leisure, art, and ritual were intertwined in one of the world's earliest civilizations. In moving its pieces across the ancient board, we walk in the footsteps of kings, merchants, and scholars, connecting with a heritage that shaped the foundation of strategic thought. And so, the royal game of with its beautifully inlaid board, carefully crafted pieces, and reconstructed rules, remains one of the most extraordinary testaments to ancient ingenuity. It is a bridge across time, a reminder that play is more than frivolity. It is an expression of intelligence, artistry, and culture. In studying it, in playing it, and in marveling at its design, we honor a civilization that, through a simple game, taught lessons that echo across thousands of years, whispering its secrets to all who will listen. The vessels that carried time. Ban Chang, a quiet archaeological site in the northeast of Thailand, seems almost unassuming to the casual visitor. Yet beneath its soil lies a treasure trove of human history that has challenged our understanding of Southeast Asian prehistory for decades. Among its most captivating discoveries are the Ban Chang ceramics, pots, bowls, and vessels that speak not just of daily life, but of a culture of remarkable sophistication, artistry, and ingenuity. These ceramics, dating back over 5,000 years, are among the earliest evidence of a settled agrarian society in Southeast Asia, a testament to the slow, deliberate progress of human civilization. Their existence raises questions about the spread of metallurgical knowledge, trade networks, and the way early humans expressed themselves through material culture. The Ban Chang ceramics are instantly recognizable for their distinctive red-painted designs etched onto fine, sun-baked clay. Simple at first glance, these patterns, spirals, geometric motifs, and occasional representations of humans or animals offer insight into the symbolic and ritual world of their makers. Archaeologists have long debated the meanings behind these designs, considering them both decorative and possibly functional markers of ownership, social status, or ritual use. The vessels themselves vary in size and form, from small, delicate bowls, ideal for daily meals, to large storage jars that would have held grains, liquids, or other essentials of sustenance. The painstaking craftsmanship evident in even the most utilitarian of these objects indicates a community that valued both practicality and beauty, understanding that the objects surrounding them were extensions of their identity and culture. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Ban Chang ceramics is the evidence they provide of early technological advancement. Unlike many prehistoric ceramics, which are often crude and uneven, Ban Chang pottery demonstrates knowledge of controlled firing techniques even before the widespread use of kilns in the region. The evenness of the clay, the careful smoothing of surfaces, and the precision of painted designs all suggest artisans with considerable skill and knowledge, passed down through generations. Scientific analysis has revealed traces of mineral pigments used in the decorations, providing clues about the natural resources available to the Ban Chang people and their methods of transforming those resources into durable and aesthetically pleasing art. Excavations at Ban Chang have revealed not just isolated pottery fragments but entire assemblages often found alongside bronze tools, ornaments, and burial items. This context allows researchers to piece together the life of a society that was complex and connected. The ceramics were not mere containers, they were part of a broader social and ritual framework. Some vessels have been found in burial sites, positioned carefully around the remains of the dead, suggesting a belief in an afterlife where such items might still be of use. Other ceramics, found in domestic contexts, illustrate patterns of food storage, cooking, and communal activity, giving us a glimpse into the rhythms of daily life nearly 5 millennia ago. The discovery of Ban Chang ceramics in Thailand has also shifted our understanding of early Southeast Asian trade and cultural exchange. Comparative studies have noted similarities with contemporaneous ceramic traditions in Laos, Cambodia, and southern China, hinting at networks of communication and exchange that spanned vast distances. These connections might have facilitated not only trade in goods but also the transmission of ideas, artistic styles, and technological innovations. It is tantalizing to imagine early humans, separated by hundreds of miles, influencing one another in subtle ways, sharing a technique for painting spirals, for firing clay to a particular hardness, or for shaping a vessel to hold a specific type of food. Each piece of Banchang pottery is a puzzle piece in the larger story of human ingenuity. The spirals etched into clay may represent the cyclical nature of life, the passage of time, or the elements themselves. Some scholars have argued that the patterns correspond to celestial observations or seasonal changes, linking the ceramics to an early understanding of astronomy or agricultural cycles. Even the forms of the vessels, with their rounded bases and flared rims, reflect careful consideration of function, ergonomics, and storage efficiency, highlighting the interplay between aesthetics and utility in a society that sought harmony with both nature and human need. Beyond their practical and symbolic value, the ceramics of Banchang are a window into the spiritual and emotional life of their creators. The effort invested in creating a finely decorated pot implies a reverence for the object and the act of creation itself. These vessels were not mere commodities, they were companions to daily life, silent witnesses to meals shared, rituals performed, and the passage of time in a community that valued the permanence of crafted beauty. When we hold a fragment of Banchang pottery today, we are in contact with the hands of artisans who lived thousands of years ago, hands that shaped clay with intention, care, and knowledge that they had inherited from those before them. The ceramics also tell us about the evolution of social structures. Differences in the intricacy and quality of pottery suggest distinctions between households, perhaps indicating status, wealth, or specialized roles within the community. The presence of ceremonial ceramics alongside everyday wares hints at a society where the sacred and the mundane were intertwined, where an ordinary meal could be imbued with ritual significance, and where the objects of daily life carried both practical and symbolic weight. As modern archaeologists continue to study Banchang, new technologies such as chemical analysis, 3D scanning, and microscopic examination reveal even more about the people who crafted these ceramics. Residue analysis has identified traces of ancient grains, oils, and pigments, connecting us intimately with the diets, crafts, and aesthetic sensibilities of a civilization that existed long before written history in the region. Every shard becomes a voice from the past, and each pattern a note in the symphony of human ingenuity. The Banchang ceramics are not merely artifacts, they are storytellers. They speak of human adaptation, creativity, and resilience. They remind us that even in times we often consider primitive, people were experimenting, innovating, and leaving a lasting imprint on the world around them. Every spiral etched into clay, every vessel shaped and fired, is a testament to the enduring human desire to create, to communicate, and to be remembered. In conclusion, the Banchang ceramics are far more than simple pottery. They are windows into the minds, lives, and spirits of a prehistoric society. Each vessel tells a story of ingenuity, artistry, and connection, both to the natural world and to the community of people who produced them. When we hold these ceramics in our imagination, we are transported thousands of years into the past, walking beside artisans whose creativity and skill continue to inspire awe. The ceramics whisper across millennia, carrying messages of life, ritual, and culture that remain remarkably intact. Through these humble yet extraordinary objects, we glimpse the universality of human experience, the continuity of art and craft, and the profound capacity of people, even in prehistory, to leave a legacy that endures through time. The Banchang ceramics, in their elegance and endurance, remind us that history is not just written in texts and chronicles, but in clay, in art, in the subtle choices of hands shaping the material world. To study them is to listen to the silent voices of the past, voices that tell us not only who we were, but also what we might yet become. The message that survived millennia. In the sun-baked plains of modern-day Gujarat, India, lie the remnants of one of the most extraordinary urban settlements of the ancient world, Dholavira. As part of the Indus Valley civilization which flourished around 4,500 years ago, Dholavira stands out, not only for its intricate urban planning and sophisticated water management systems, but also for a discovery that has puzzled historians, linguists, and archaeologists alike, the Dholavira singboard. This single artifact, a large inscribed stone board, is one of the rare pieces of evidence that hint at the written communication of the Indus Valley people. Though small in size, its implications for understanding the sophistication and culture of this civilization are immense. The Dholavira singboard, crafted from a piece of sandstone, measures nearly 5 feet in length, Carved meticulously into its surface are symbols belonging to the undeciphered Indus script, the mysterious writing system that adorned seals, pottery, and other objects across the Indus Valley civilization. The script, composed of pictographs and abstract shapes, has resisted all attempts at full interpretation, leaving the exact purpose of the signboard shrouded in mystery. Some scholars suggest it could have been a public notice, a marker of civic authority, or a declaration of trade regulations. Others propose it might have been a religious inscription or a record of significant events. Whatever its purpose, the Dholavira signboard reveals a society that not only managed one of the most sophisticated urban centers of its time, but also had a written system to communicate complex ideas. Dholavira itself is a marvel. Built on a series of terraces and encircled by massive walls, the city demonstrates remarkable engineering prowess. Water reservoirs, meticulously planned streets, and residential compounds indicate a community that valued organization, hygiene, and sustainability. Within this context, the signboard takes on even greater significance. It is not merely an isolated artifact, but a reflection of the administrative, social, and possibly religious sophistication that governed daily life in Dholavira. The Indus Valley civilization, stretching across present-day Pakistan and northwest India, had cities that rivaled contemporary Mesopotamian and Egyptian urban centers in terms of size, complexity, and functionality. And the Dholavira signboard is an emblem of that intellectual and cultural achievement. The inscriptions on the board are precise, with each symbol carefully engraved to ensure clarity and permanence. Unlike casual markings on pottery or small seals, the Dholavira signboard was meant to endure. Its large size suggests that it was intended to be seen by many, perhaps as a central feature within a public or ceremonial space. Some researchers speculate that the board functioned as a civic signpost, conveying messages to residents and visitors alike. The placement of the board within the city's fortified area further reinforces the idea that it held importance in governance or public life, a tool of communication that symbolized authority and order. Understanding the significance of the Dholavira signboard requires placing it within the broader context of Indus script artifacts. Across the civilization, thousands of seals, pottery fragments, and other inscribed objects have been unearthed. These items suggest a society that engaged in extensive trade, craft specialization, and possibly record-keeping. Yet despite the abundance of these objects, the Dholavira signboard stands out for its size, prominence, and public nature. While seals and pottery inscriptions were likely private or transactional, meant for commerce or ownership, the signboard was designed for communal visibility. Its symbols, meticulously carved, imply the presence of a literate class, or administrative officials capable of understanding and maintaining the system of communication. The questions surrounding the Dholavira signboard are as compelling as the artifact itself. What message did it convey? Was it a decree from the city's rulers, a set of regulations for citizens, or perhaps a marker for trade routes? Archaeologists have considered the signboard in the light of Indus trade, noting Dholavira's strategic location along routes connecting inland settlements with coastal ports. Could the board have been a guide for merchants, providing directions, tax information, or commercial regulations? Its enduring presence suggests that whatever the message, it was intended to last and to command attention, reflecting the civic-mindedness and organizational capabilities of Dholavira's inhabitants. The Dholavira signboard also offers insight into the cultural values and aesthetic sensibilities of its creators. The precision and symmetry of the inscriptions imply a deep respect for order, balance, and clarity. Unlike some ancient scripts that evolved haphazardly, the Indus script displays consistency and standardization, hinting at a codified system of symbols taught and maintained over generations. This attention to detail reflects a society that valued not only functional governance, but also the visual and intellectual integrity of its written communication. The board, therefore, is more than a piece of administrative utility. It is a work of art, a cultural statement, and a testament to the intellectual sophistication of the Indus Valley people. The discovery of the Dholavira signboard has had profound implications for the study of ancient writing systems. While scholars have yet to decipher the Indus script, artifacts like this board confirm that the civilization had developed a coherent method of communication capable of recording complex information. Comparisons with other ancient scripts suggest that the Indus script could have served multiple purposes, from economic documentation to ritual expression. The very existence of the signboard underscores the Indus Valley's place among the world's earliest literate societies, challenging assumptions about the spread of writing and urban development in human history. Beyond its linguistic significance, the signboard provides a window into the daily life and organization of Dholavira. Its presence suggests a society that required clear communication for coordination, perhaps in governance, trade, or religious practice. the city's sophisticated water management systems, including massive reservoirs and channels, would have necessitated rules, maintenance schedules, and oversight, functions that a public signboard could have helped facilitate. Similarly, the city's marketplaces and civic spaces likely relied on such visible communication to maintain order and efficiency. The Dollavira signboard, therefore, is not just a relic, it is a symbol of civic intelligence and foresight, bridging the practical and the symbolic. The craftsmanship of the board itself is remarkable. Carved from sandstone, it has withstood millennia of environmental wear, floods, and human activity. The clarity of the inscription suggests the use of specialized tools and techniques, emphasizing the advanced technical skills of Indus artisans. Every stroke is deliberate, and every symbol is executed with precision, indicating a culture that valued knowledge, permanence, and clarity in its expressions. The board's survival across thousands of years serves as a silent reminder of the resilience and ingenuity of human civilizations, preserving a message that continues to spark curiosity and scholarly investigation. The Dollavira signboard is a bridge between past and present. Though we cannot yet read the words it bears, we can imagine the bustling streets of ancient Dollavira, where merchants, officials, and citizens passed beneath its imposing presence, guided by its message, aware of the authority and organization it represented. It connects us to the daily life, governance, and spiritual world of people long gone, reminding us that even in prehistory, societies were capable of remarkable complexity and communication. Every fragment of Dollavira, every shard of pottery, and every inscription culminates in the story told by this signboard. It encapsulates the spirit of the Indus Valley, an urban center of ingenuity, trade, artistry, and societal organization. Its presence in the archaeological record challenges us to rethink what we know about the development of writing, governance, and civic life in the ancient world. It is a testament to the enduring human desire to communicate, to order society, and to leave a legacy for future generations. In essence, the Dollavira signboard is more than an artifact. It is a voice across time. It tells of a civilization that thrived in harmony with its environment, that developed tools, systems, and communication methods that would inspire the study of urban life for millennia to come. It reminds us that even without understanding every word, we can glimpse the sophistication, ingenuity, and humanity of a people who lived thousands of years ago. The board whispers to us across the ages, inviting curiosity, study, and imagination, ensuring that the story of Dollavira and its people will continue to resonate through history. The music that spoke through time. The rolling hills of ancient Greece, where olive groves stretch as far as the eye can see, and the Aegean Sea sparkles under the sun. There existed a musical tradition that intertwined with the very soul of civilization. Among the most intriguing remnants of this ancient world are the lyres of Polyidus, instruments crafted centuries ago that have survived the passage of time to speak to us in silence. These lyres, named after the legendary musician and seer Polyidus, were more than mere instruments. They were vessels of culture, carriers of memory, and bearers of the human spirit that thrived in classical Greece. To hold one is to hold a bridge between the world of myth and the tangible reality of artistry and devotion. The lyres themselves are delicate and elegant, often constructed from finely carved wood, tortoiseshell resonators, and carefully strung gut strings. They were not merely functional, they were works of art. Each curve and embellishment was meticulously designed, reflecting not only musical ingenuity, but also the aesthetic sensibilities of their makers. Ancient Greek artisans understood the power of music as a medium for communication, celebration, and ceremony. The lyres of Polyidus were often used in religious rites, festivals, and theatrical performances, connecting the divine with the mortal in a shared rhythm and melody. Polyidus, the figure after whom these lyres are named, is shrouded in legend. He is said to have possessed extraordinary musical talent, capable of enchanting both humans and animals alike with the sound of his lyre. Stories tell of Polyidus restoring harmony where chaos had taken root, healing the hearts of rulers, and even influencing the outcome of battles with his music. While the historical accuracy of these tales is debated, the lyres attributed to him are concrete reminders of the cultural reverence for music in ancient Greek society. They symbolize not just artistry, but also wisdom, prophecy, and the interconnection of life's experiences through sound. The lyres of Polyidus were central to Greek education and social life. Young citizens were taught to play these instruments as part of their cultural and intellectual development. Music was believed to shape character, enhance memory, and promote civic virtue. Lyres were played in homes, schools, temples, and theaters, each note resonating through marble halls and open-air amphitheaters, reaching listeners and teaching them lessons in harmony, discipline, and emotional expression. The instruments themselves were objects of status, often owned by the wealthy or by accomplished musicians, and sometimes even offered as votive gifts to the gods. The construction of a lyre was a precise and sacred craft. Artisans selected the finest woods, often cedar or cypress, prized for their resonance and durability. Tortoiseshell was used to create the soundbox, carefully stretched and shaped to produce the perfect tone. Strings, originally made from sheep or goat gut, were calibrated to exact tension to ensure clarity and musical range. Each lyre was unique, a blend of technical expertise and artistic vision, allowing for a rich spectrum of sound capable of both delicate melodies and robust harmonies. The attention to detail in their construction reveals a society deeply invested in the nuances of sound, its emotional power, and its ability to transcend the ordinary. The role of music in ancient Greece extended beyond entertainment. It was deeply entwined with religion, philosophy, and governance. Lyres accompanied rituals in temples dedicated to gods like Apollo and Dionysus, guiding worshippers into states of reflection and ecstasy. Philosophers, from Pythagoras to Plato, explored the mathematical foundations of music, linking the harmony of notes to the harmony of the cosmos itself. The lyres of Polyid, therefore, are not merely instruments, they are symbols of a civilization's quest to understand the universe through art, to align human experience with the divine rhythm of nature. Archaeological discoveries have provided insight into the use and spread of lyres across Greece and beyond. Ancient depictions on pottery, frescoes, and reliefs show musicians performing in domestic, religious, and civic settings. These images, combined with surviving instruments like the lyres of Polyid, offer a vivid window into the soundscape of antiquity. Through these lyres, one can almost hear the melodies that accompanied epic poems, the chants of religious ceremonies, and the lilting tunes played at social gatherings. Each instrument carries a resonance of the past, a voice echoing across centuries, telling us about the lives, values, and emotions of the people who created and cherished it. The survival of these lyres is extraordinary. Fragile wood, delicate strings, and the passage of millennia would seem to doom such artifacts to oblivion. Yet, careful preservation, fortuitous burial conditions, and the reverence with which they were treated allowed some examples to endure. Modern scholars and musicians who study these lyres attempt to reconstruct the instruments and their music, bringing to life melodies that may not have been heard for thousands of years. Every string plucked today is a bridge connecting the present to a civilization that valued music as a guiding principle of culture and morality. Moreover, the lyres of Polyidus inspire reflection on the universality of music. Despite the gulf of time and the transformation of society, the emotional impact of a lyre's sound remains relatable. Happiness, sorrow, celebration, contemplation. These feelings transcend epochs, resonating in anyone who listens with an open heart. In this way, the lyres are more than historical artifacts. They are living connections to the shared human experience, a testament to the enduring power of art to communicate beyond language, beyond borders, and beyond generations. The discovery of these lyres also highlights the interplay between myth and material culture. While legends of Polyidus and other mythical musicians enrich our understanding, the tangible existence of these instruments grounds those stories in reality. The craftsmanship, inscriptions, and artistic embellishments found on the lyres provide evidence of a sophisticated culture that honored both technical skill and mythic narrative, blending practical function with symbolic meaning. They are artifacts that tell multiple stories at once, of musical innovation, societal structure, religious devotion, and human imagination. In essence, the lyres of Polyidus represent a civilization in harmony with itself. The integration of music into daily life, spiritual practice, education, and social events speaks to a society that understood art as central to human development. Each lyre, from its delicate strings to its carefully shaped resonator, carries the weight of centuries of tradition, knowledge, and emotion. They invite us to not only study history, but to experience it, to imagine the sound that once filled the hills and halls of Greece, to feel the rhythm and resonance that connected communities, inspired thinkers, and entertained citizens. Through careful preservation and scholarly study, the lyres of Polyidus continue to educate and inspire. Musicians reconstruct their melodies, historians contextualize their use, and enthusiasts marvel at the aesthetic and technical brilliance encapsulated in each instrument. The lyres remind us that history is not merely a record of events, but a tapestry woven from human expression, creativity, and the pursuit of beauty. Ultimately, these lyres are timeless. They are witnesses to the triumphs and trials of the ancient Greeks, carriers of myth and memory, and testaments to the universal language of music. They teach us that human ingenuity, when paired with creativity and devotion, can create artifacts that endure not only physically but emotionally and spiritually. The lyres of Polyidus, silent yet resonant, invite every listener to journey into the past, to hear the music that once guided a civilization, and to marvel at the continuity of human expression through the ages. The vessels that carried time. In the gentle river valleys of the Yellow River, where the fertile soil nurtured the beginnings of human civilization, a community flourished thousands of years ago. It was here that the Banpo people, a Neolithic culture that existed around 4800–4300 BCE, left behind remarkable traces of their lives. Among their most enduring contributions to history are the pottery tombs of Banpo, where carefully crafted ceramic vessels were buried alongside the dead, carrying silent stories of a people who lived in harmony with their land, their community, and their beliefs about life and death. The Banpo pottery tombs are more than mere graves. They are testaments to the sophistication and creativity of Neolithic artisans. The pottery discovered within these tombs is notable for its intricate geometric patterns, precise symmetry, and practical yet aesthetic design. Some vessels were small, perhaps used for daily food storage, while others were larger, intended for ceremonial or funerary purposes. The patterns etched into the clay lines, circles, spirals, and zigzags, carry meaning, possibly symbolic of natural elements, spiritual beliefs, or social identity within the community. Each vessel was handmade, fired carefully in earthen kilns, and polished with remarkable skill, reflecting a culture that valued both function and beauty. The positioning of the pottery within the tombs reveals deep respect for the deceased. In Banpo burials, the dead were often placed in pits in a crouched position, accompanied by an array of objects: pottery vessels, stone tools, bone implements, and sometimes ornaments. The presence of pottery suggests a belief that the deceased required sustenance in the afterlife, or that the vessels served as offerings to the spirits. The meticulous arrangement and careful crafting of these items speak to a spiritual consciousness and a complex societal structure where rituals and traditions guided the journey from life to death. Excavations at the Banpo site, first discovered in the 1950s near Xi'an, China, have provided invaluable insight into this Neolithic community. Archaeologists uncovered over 200 house foundations, communal areas, and burial pits, revealing a well-organized settlement with evidence of agriculture, animal domestication, and pottery production. The pottery tombs, scattered throughout the settlement, serve as silent witnesses to the lives, deaths, and beliefs of the Banpo people. Each piece of pottery, carefully shaped by hand, carries the imprint of human intention and creativity, linking us across millennia to a world that predates written history. The Banpo pottery tombs also highlight the technical innovation of the Neolithic period. The clay used for these vessels was carefully prepared, mixed with tempering materials such as sand or crushed pottery to prevent cracking during firing. The firing process itself required precise control of temperature, achieved through pit kilns or open fires, demonstrating an advanced understanding of materials and techniques. The vessels were often coated with slip to give a smooth surface, and then decorated with painted or incised patterns. This combination of artistry and engineering reflects a society that valued skill, aesthetics, and durability in the objects that accompanied both daily life and death. Beyond their technical and artistic qualities, the Banpo pottery vessels offer a glimpse into the social and cultural life of the community. Some vessels appear to have been specialized for particular functions: storage, cooking, or ritual use, suggesting a division of labor and an understanding of utility. The decorative motifs may have conveyed information about social status, family affiliation, or spiritual beliefs. These vessels were not mere tools, they were carriers of meaning, messages in clay that communicated identity, devotion, and connection to both community and cosmos. The significance of the Banpo pottery tombs extends to their role in understanding human settlement patterns, societal organization, and cultural evolution. The Banpo site is one of the earliest examples of a planned village, with circular and rectangular houses arranged in a cohesive layout. The proximity of the tombs to the residential areas indicates a society that maintained close ties between the living and the dead, emphasizing continuity, memory, and respect for ancestors. These practices provide modern scholars with a window into the values, beliefs, and everyday lives of one of humanity's early agricultural communities. The patterns and forms of Banpo pottery have inspired generations of archaeologists and historians, not just for their beauty, but for the stories they tell. Each line, spiral, or zigzag, etched into the clay, is a symbol, a wordless language that conveys meaning across thousands of years. Some scholars suggest that these motifs were related to cosmology, seasons, or the cycles of nature, reflecting the intimate relationship between the Banpo people and their environment. Others argue that the designs may have had social or ritual significance, marking family groups or roles within the community. Whatever their purpose, the pottery continues to resonate, a tangible connection to a past both distant and immediate. The Banpo pottery tombs also serve as a reminder of the universality of human expression. Across continents and eras, humans have sought to honor the dead, commemorate life, and communicate values through material culture. The vessels from Banpo echo similar practices in other Neolithic cultures worldwide, where pottery, tools, and personal objects were placed in graves to accompany the departed. These parallels highlight shared human concerns: mortality, remembrance, and the desire to leave a legacy. illustrating the deep threads that connect humanity across time and space. Modern preservation efforts ensure that these artifacts remain accessible for study and appreciation. Museums and research institutions display Banpo pottery as more than static objects. They are storytellers, each vessel offering clues about the evolution of human creativity, social structures, and ritual practice. The pottery tombs continue to inspire curiosity, inviting both scholars and the general public to explore questions about how early humans understood life, death, and their place in the world. In the quiet spaces of museums or the open excavation sites, one can imagine the Banpo people crafting these vessels, their hands shaping clay with care and intention. Each curve, each pattern, each carefully fired surface carries the echoes of daily life: children playing, farmers tending crops, families gathering, and rituals honoring ancestors. The Banpo pottery tombs are more than relics. They are living connections to human ingenuity, devotion, and the enduring power of art to communicate across millennia. Ultimately, the Banpo pottery tombs are a bridge to a distant past, a testament to the creativity, spirituality, and resilience of one of humanity's earliest settled communities. Through these vessels, we hear the whispers of people who lived, worked, loved, and believed in a world that, though distant in time, remains deeply connected to our own. The pottery is a silent, yet eloquent witness to human history, inviting us to listen, to imagine, and to marvel at the enduring legacy of the Banpo people. The threads that wove empires. The wove empires. High in the Andean mountains of Peru, long before the arrival of Europeans, the Wari civilization flourished. Between approximately 600 and 1100 CE, the Wari people established complex societies across the highlands and valleys, creating art, architecture, and textiles that would endure for centuries. Among their most extraordinary contributions were their textiles, woven masterpieces that spoke not only of utility but also of identity, status, religion, and power. Today, these textiles, surviving through careful preservation, offer us a rare glimpse into the intricate and highly organized society that produced them, carrying stories encoded in thread and dye that transcend time. Wari textiles are remarkable for their sophistication, using materials such as cotton, camelid fibers like alpaca and llama wool, and vibrant natural dyes. Wari weavers produced fabrics of extraordinary complexity. Their weaving techniques, tapestry, twill, and intricate geometric designs demonstrated not only technical mastery but also a deep understanding of pattern, symbolism, and storytelling. Each piece was more than just a cloth, it was a canvas through which the Wari expressed cosmology, power structures, and social hierarchies. The motifs found in these textiles often included abstract geometric forms, stylized animals, mythical creatures, and representations of deities, each carrying meaning for those who wore and saw them. One of the most striking aspects of Wari textiles is their use of color. The Wari were adept at extracting dyes from plants, insects, and minerals, producing shades of red, yellow, blue, green, and brown that have survived for centuries. These colors were not chosen arbitrarily, they held cultural significance. Red often symbolized life, blood, and power. Blue and green could represent water, fertility, and the natural world, and black and white often carried symbolic weight in rituals or social markers. The interplay of colors combined with geometric precision made Wari textiles immediately recognizable and powerful symbols of cultural identity. The textiles also reveal the social and political structures of the Wari civilization. Many garments and tapestries were produced in specialized workshops, often under the supervision of elite administrators. Certain designs were reserved for the nobility or religious figures, while others were produced for trade, ritual offerings, or practical use. The act of weaving itself was highly ritualized, often involving strict rules and ceremonial practices, demonstrating the sacred and social importance of this craft. Women were the primary weavers, and their skill was highly respected, giving them significant cultural and sometimes political influence within Wari society. Archaeological excavations in Wari sites such as Pakalakta, Huari, and Conchapata have revealed a wealth of textiles in burial contexts. Many of these fabrics were used to wrap the deceased, suggesting beliefs about the afterlife and the protective power of the woven symbols. The placement of textiles in tombs indicates that they were considered more than material goods. They were carriers of spiritual significance, meant to accompany the dead into eternity. In some cases, textiles were layered in elaborate arrangements, creating visual narratives that spoke of lineage, achievements, and religious devotion. The durability of Wari textiles is astounding. Despite the passage of nearly a millennium, many examples remain intact, preserved by the dry Andean climate and careful burial practices. These textiles allow modern scholars to study not only the techniques and materials used, but also the broader cultural and economic networks of the Wari. Trade networks are evident in the presence of exotic fibers, dyes, and patterns influenced by neighboring cultures. Through textiles, the Wari connected with other Andean societies, exchanging ideas, styles, and technologies, making their weaving a medium not just of art, but of diplomacy and cultural continuity. The symbolism encoded in Wari textiles is intricate and layered. Animals such as felines, birds, and llamas often appear alongside abstract motifs, suggesting religious or mythological significance. Geometric patterns, including zigzags, diamonds, and step designs, may reflect cosmological concepts, agricultural cycles, or societal hierarchies. Each textile is thus a story, a tapestry of meaning that conveys information about the Wari worldview, their understanding of the cosmos, and their connection to the natural and spiritual world. The technical mastery displayed in Wari textiles also reflects sophisticated knowledge of mathematics, proportion, and design. Weavers carefully planned each piece, counting threads, spacing patterns, and maintaining symmetry to achieve perfection. The precision of these textiles, combined with the complexity of their designs, demonstrates a level of craftsmanship that would influence Andean weaving traditions for centuries to come. Even today, contemporary Peruvian artisans draw inspiration from these ancient works, keeping alive the techniques and styles developed by the Wari. Beyond their artistic and cultural significance, Wari textiles also provide insight into daily life. Patterns and motifs often reflect agricultural practices, hunting, ceremonies, and clothing styles, giving archaeologists clues about what the Wari ate, how they dressed, and how they organized their communities. Textiles also indicate gender roles, as weaving was primarily a female craft, suggesting women's pivotal role in maintaining cultural traditions and contributing to the economy. Through careful analysis, scholars can reconstruct aspects of Wari society that would otherwise remain lost to history. The discovery of Wari textiles has been transformative for our understanding of pre-Columbian civilizations in the Andes. Museums around the world, including the Museo Larco in Lima and other institutions in Europe and North America, house examples of these textiles, offering researchers and visitors alike the chance to marvel at their beauty and complexity. Each piece serves as a bridge to a civilization that thrived in the highlands of Peru over 1,000 years ago, a civilization that mastered the delicate balance of utility, aesthetics, and symbolism. Wari textiles are not just artifacts, they are stories frozen in time, threads connecting us to people who lived, loved, and dreamed in a world far removed from our own. Each weave tells of the human desire to express identity, communicate values, and participate in the eternal cycle of life and death. In every thread we find echoes of ceremony, ritual, artistry, and the enduring legacy of a society that through textiles achieved immortality. The continued study and preservation of Wari textiles ensure that these remarkable creations remain a source of knowledge, inspiration, and wonder. Through them, we learn not only about the technical and artistic achievements of the Wari, but also about the shared human impulse to leave behind beauty, meaning, and memory. In the silent folds of these fabrics, the Wari speak to us across the centuries, reminding us of the enduring power of culture, creativity, and human expression. Ultimately, the Wari textiles stand as a testament to the ingenuity, spirituality, and resilience of a civilization that understood the profound significance of weaving. Through their threads, they wove not only cloth but identity, belief, and connection, a legacy that continues to captivate, educate, and inspire all who encounter it, offering a tangible link to a vibrant and sophisticated past that has survived the passage of time. The offerings that shimmered through time. In the highlands of modern-day Colombia, amid the misty plateaus of the Altiplano Cundiboyacense, a remarkable civilization flourished long before the arrival of Europeans. The Muisca people, part of the larger Chibcha-speaking cultures, built thriving communities between approximately 600 and 1600 CE. Among their most extraordinary and enduring legacies are their golden offerings, small yet exquisitely crafted figurines, tungos, and ceremonial objects that were placed in lakes, rivers, and sacred sites. These golden artifacts are more than just precious metals. They are the embodiment of spirituality, identity, and power, reflecting a civilization that revered nature, ritual, and the divine. The Muisca were master metallurgists. Using techniques such as lost wax casting, hammering, and alloying, they produced objects of exceptional finesse and detail. Gold was abundant in their region, often combined with copper to create tumbaga, a unique alloy that enhanced the material's durability and allowed for a striking reddish golden hue. Every tunjo, figurine, or offering tells a story. Whether depicting humans, animals, mythological beings, or abstract symbols, each object embodies symbolic and religious significance. Gold, to the Muisca, was not merely a commodity, it was the physical manifestation of the sun's divine energy, an eternal medium through which the spiritual world could interact with the human. The creation of these golden offerings required immense skill and knowledge. Artisans carefully shaped wax models, sometimes as small as a few centimeters, before encasing them in clay molds. Molten metal was then poured into the molds, a process requiring precise temperature control and dexterity. After casting, the surface was meticulously polished, engraved, or adorned with minute details. The dedication and craftsmanship evident in each piece reflect both the technical mastery of the Muisca and the profound reverence they held for these ritual objects. The symbolism embedded in Muisca golden offerings is deeply intertwined with cosmology, spirituality, and social hierarchy. Many figurines depict human forms, often in a stylized, geometric fashion, with hands extended as if in offering or prayer. Others represent animals, such as frogs, birds, or jaguars, each carrying cultural and mythological significance. Frogs, for instance, were associated with fertility and water, essential elements in agriculture-driven societies. Birds might symbolize communication with the divine or the sky's celestial energies, while jaguars embodied strength, courage, and protection. Through these forms, the Muisca encoded their understanding of the universe, ritual practice, and societal values. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Muisca golden offerings is their use in water rituals. Lakes, rivers, and sacred springs were considered portals between the human and divine realms. Tunjos were often cast into these waters as gifts to deities or ancestors, serving as petitions for fertility, rain, prosperity, or protection. The famous El Dorado ritual, where a chieftain would cover himself in gold dust and immerse into Lake Guatavita, exemplifies this connection between gold, water, and sacred ceremony. Each submerged offering was a tangible bridge to the divine, a gesture meant to honor gods, spirits, or ancestors, and to maintain cosmic balance. Beyond religious use, golden offerings reflect the political and social structure of the Muisca. Elites, priests, and rulers commissioned and controlled access to these objects, using them to assert status, wealth, and influence. The possession of gold and the ability to craft or dedicate golden offerings was not merely an aesthetic choice, it was a declaration of power, spiritual authority, and cultural identity. The distribution and deposition of these artifacts in ceremonial centers and sacred sites reinforced social hierarchies and legitimized leadership. Archaeological discoveries across the Colombian highlands have unveiled remarkable examples of these golden artifacts. Excavations in sites such as Lake Guatavita, Sesquile, and Tibenica have recovered hundreds of tunjos, miniature figurines, and ceremonial objects, many depicting human figures in dynamic postures, animals in stylized forms, or abstract symbolic motifs. Each find adds to our understanding of Muisca spirituality, societal organization, and artistic expression. These objects, often small enough to fit in the palm of a hand, reveal the intimate relationship between the Muisca and their environment, illustrating how ritual, art, and daily life were inextricably linked. The artistry of Muisca golden offerings also demonstrates an advanced understanding of metallurgy. By experimenting with metal alloys, artisans could achieve different colors, surface textures, and durability. Some figurines were even designed with hollow interiors, reducing weight while retaining the appearance of solid gold. The combination of technical innovation and symbolic depth underscores the sophistication of Muisca culture, revealing a civilization that understood both the physical and metaphysical potential of materials. The golden offerings have captivated modern scholars and collectors alike, inspiring awe at their beauty and complexity. Museums in Colombia, Europe, and North America house examples of these artifacts, each serving as a tangible connection to a lost civilization. Yet, despite their presence in collections, the full cultural and spiritual significance of these offerings can only be appreciated when viewed through the lens of Muisca cosmology and ritual practice. These were not mere decorations, they were living objects within a spiritual ecosystem, mediating between humans, deities, and the natural world. The Muisca golden offerings are also vital for understanding pre-Columbian trade and technological exchange. Gold and tumbaga objects circulated within the Andes, reflecting a network of interconnected communities. Techniques and motifs likely influenced neighboring cultures, and in turn, the Muisca adapted styles from other groups. These artifacts thus provide a window into a broader cultural dialogue, revealing how art, technology, and ritual traversed regions, shaping a shared Andean heritage. Every tunjo, every golden figure, tells a story of devotion, artistry, and identity. From the careful casting and finishing to the thoughtful placement in lakes or temples, each artifact embodies the human desire to connect with something greater than ourselves. They whisper tales of ceremonies that sought divine favor, of communities bound together by shared beliefs, and of the enduring pursuit of beauty and meaning in a complex world. The golden offerings were, and remain, timeless expressions of faith, power, and creativity. The survival of these objects, despite the passage of centuries, is remarkable. The high-altitude environment of the Colombian Andes helped preserve many artifacts, while others were hidden in sacred sites, undisturbed by everyday life. Today, these golden offerings allow us to witness the technical skill, aesthetic sensibility, and spiritual devotion of the Muisca firsthand. They remind us that even small objects can carry immense cultural weight and that material culture can serve as a bridge across millennia. Through these golden offerings, the Muisca speak to us across time, revealing a civilization that understood the power of symbolism, the sacredness of material, and the interconnection of the earthly and divine. Each figurine is a frozen prayer, a testament to the artistry and spiritual life of a people who thrived long before global empires reshaped the continent. They are both objects of beauty and vessels of memory, preserving stories, beliefs, and traditions that might otherwise have been lost. Ultimately, the Muisca golden offerings remain a profound symbol of human creativity and spiritual expression. They remind us that art, ritual, and devotion are deeply intertwined, and that through careful craftsmanship and symbolic representation, a culture can achieve a form of immortality. As we study, preserve, and admire these artifacts today, we continue the legacy of the Muisca, honoring their ingenuity, reverence, and enduring presence in history. In every shimmer of gold, the Muisca speak, and through their voice we glimpse the eternal brilliance of a civilization that left its mark, not only on the earth, but also in the hearts and minds of those who continue to marvel at their golden offerings. The golden offerings of the Muisca are not just artifacts of beauty, they are portals into a worldview where the material and spiritual were inseparably linked. Each tunjo, each small figurine, was carefully designed to interact with the forces that govern daily life, the cycles of nature, and the movements of celestial bodies. The Muisca believed that the world was alive with energy, and that human action, particularly through ritual and ceremony, could influence these energies. Gold, imbued with the radiance of the sun, was considered the perfect conduit for such influence. By offering these shimmering creations to lakes, rivers, and sacred caves, the Muisca ensured that their intentions, whether prayers for rain, fertility, or protection, were carried directly to the divine. Archaeological evidence from sites like Lake Guatavita reveals that these offerings were often deposited in highly choreographed ceremonial sequences. Divers and ritual specialists would immerse themselves in sacred waters, offering tunjos at specific locations believed to hold the greatest spiritual potency. Some offerings were bundled with other symbolic items, such as feathers, shells, or precious stones, amplifying their ritual significance. In these acts, the boundaries between human, nature, and spirit became fluid. The golden offerings were not inert objects, they were active participants in a sacred dialogue, transmitting devotion, reverence, and the hope for divine favor. The stories that these golden objects tell extend beyond ritual. They illuminate the social hierarchies and political dynamics of Muisca society. Gold was controlled by elites, priests, and rulers, and the creation of tunjos was closely associated with religious authority. A leader who possessed the ability to commission, consecrate, or deposit golden offerings demonstrated not only wealth but also divine legitimacy. These objects reinforced social cohesion and communicated the spiritual and political power of the Muisca elite. The deposition of tunjos in communal or sacred spaces created a visible record of authority, a testament to the leader's capacity to maintain harmony between human society and the spiritual world. Technologically, the Muisca were innovative and experimental. Lost wax casting allowed for intricate designs and precise symbolism, from miniature human forms in postures of prayer to abstract geometric patterns representing cosmological concepts. Each piece was a technical marvel, requiring not only skill but an understanding of chemistry, heat control, and metallurgy. Tumbaga alloys, for instance, allowed for a combination of gold's visual brilliance and copper's structural resilience. After casting, artisans often employed techniques such as depletion gilding, a process that enriched the gold surface, creating a radiant exterior that seemed almost otherworldly. Such sophistication is a reminder that these were people who understood and manipulated the properties of metals in ways that were both practical and profoundly symbolic. Some offerings depict mythological narratives, which offer rare glimpses into Muisca storytelling and religious imagination. Figures of anthropomorphic deities, composite animals, and symbolic objects reveal a sophisticated system of meaning. Each tunjo could convey multiple layers of significance. A frog might simultaneously represent fertility, water, and the transformative power of nature. Birds could embody messages between the earthly and celestial realms, while geometric symbols might encode cosmological knowledge or seasonal cycles. By combining these symbols, the Muisca communicated ideas about life, death, creation, and divine order in forms that were both beautiful and spiritually potent. The discovery of these artifacts, centuries later, evokes both awe and reflection. Explorers and archaeologists have described the initial unearthed tunjos as small sparks of sunlight frozen in time. Excavations at sacred lakes, temples, and burial sites revealed not only gold, but also an extraordinary glimpse into Muisca cognition, ritual practice, and societal organization. Each piece invites us to imagine the hands that shaped it, the ceremonies it participated in, and the reverence with which it was treated. Even thousands of years later, these objects retain a sense of vitality, as if the prayers, hopes, and intentions of their makers still echo faintly across time. Cultural exchange is another dimension revealed through these artifacts. Muisca artisans borrowed and adapted techniques and motifs from neighboring Andean cultures, indicating a vibrant network of trade, influence, and communication. At the same time, their unique approaches, particularly in the use of tumbaga and ceremonial deposition practices, demonstrate originality and a deep engagement with their environment and cosmology. Gold objects, though primarily spiritual in function, also served as markers of identity, reflecting not only religious beliefs, but also shared cultural heritage and community values. Modern scientific analyses of the golden offerings provide further insight into Muisca expertise. Metallurgists have examined alloy composition, revealing that the Muisca were deliberate in their choices, adjusting gold-copper ratios for aesthetic effect, durability, and symbolic resonance. Microscopic inspection shows meticulous finishing techniques, including engraving, polishing, and surface treatment, designed to maximize brilliance and enhance the reflective qualities of sunlight or torchlight during rituals. Each tunjo was an interplay of science, art, and spiritual intention, crafted to achieve both visual splendor and metaphysical impact. The ritual use of golden offerings also shaped Muisca mythology and collective memory. Stories of the El Dorado ritual, where a chieftain covered himself in gold dust and entered Lake Guatavita, became legendary not only for their splendor, but for the profound symbolic resonance they carried. These rituals were central to the Muisca understanding of leadership, sacred obligation, and human interaction with divine forces. By connecting political authority with spiritual practice, the Muisca reinforced social order, legitimized power, and maintained a harmonious balance between humans, gods, and nature. The golden offerings, tiny yet powerful, bridge the gap between past and present. In museums today, they captivate viewers with their radiant beauty, technical perfection, and symbolic depth. Beyond their aesthetic appeal, they are tangible links to a world that valued connection with the divine, reverence for nature, and the skillful blending of artistry with ritual. For historians, archaeologists, and enthusiasts, they are windows into a civilization whose sophistication, devotion, and artistry continue to inspire wonder. These offerings also challenge modern assumptions about the scale and sophistication of pre-Columbian civilizations. Their technical skill, symbolic complexity, and ritual significance attest to a culture deeply attuned to the environment, cosmology, and social cohesion. Every tunjo, whether depicting a human figure, an animal, or an abstract symbol, demonstrates intentionality, skill, and spiritual awareness. They remind us that value is not merely monetary. These objects carried intangible wealth of knowledge, faith, artistry, and cultural identity. Ultimately, the Muisca golden offerings endure as timeless witnesses of human creativity and spirituality. They shine as expressions of a civilization that understood the profound power of symbolism, the sacredness of ritual, and the ability of material objects to mediate the relationship between the human and the divine. Every gleam of gold reflects not only sunlight, but the prayers, devotion, and ingenuity of a people whose legacy continues to illuminate the world. In their small golden forms, the Muisca speak across the centuries, telling stories of faith, artistry, and the unbroken human desire to connect with something eternal. Through these objects, we come to understand that culture, ritual, and material mastery are intertwined, that even the smallest artifact can carry immense meaning, and that civilization's greatest achievements are often found in the subtle and sacred gestures preserved through time. The Muisca golden offerings are not merely relics, they are enduring expressions of a worldview that treasured balance, devotion, and beauty, and they continue to inspire reverence and fascination for all who encounter them. The Jelling Stones. The Jelling Stones, standing silently on the gentle slopes of Jelling in Denmark, are more than mere rocks. They are monumental witnesses of a world that existed over 1,000 years ago, when kings ruled not only by force but by legacy, by symbolism, and by the stories they inscribed into stone. These stones, enormous in size and intricately carved, carry messages that bridge the mortal and the divine, the past and the present, conveying not only names and deeds but also the spiritual and cultural heartbeat of the Viking Age. The larger of the two stones, often referred to as the King's Stone, was erected by Harald Bluetooth to honor his parents and, most famously, to proclaim the unification of Denmark and Norway under his reign. Harald, a king whose very name resonates through Scandinavian history, understood the power of permanence, and the runes etched into this massive stone are not merely decorative. They are declarations, proclamations meant to endure through centuries, a testimony to ambition, devotion, and divine favor. These stones, though weathered by time, reveal an astonishing level of craftsmanship. Each rune, each intricate serpent and knot motif, is painstakingly carved, not only to communicate language, but to convey layers of meaning. The interwoven serpents curl across the stone's surface, creating patterns that suggest not only artistic mastery, but a symbolic cosmology. Serpents in Norse mythology often represent both danger and protection, death and rebirth, and their inclusion on these stones is deliberate, a reflection of the dualities that governed Viking belief and understanding of the universe. Standing before the gelling stones, one cannot help but feel a sense of reverence, an awareness that these monuments were never intended merely as memorials. They were tools of memory, instruments of authority, and symbols of the sacred legitimacy of rulership. Harold Bluetooth, by inscribing his parents' names and the deeds he accomplished, intertwined personal lineage with national destiny. These stones proclaim not only a ruler's might, but a cultural identity, a people's history, and the acknowledgement of the Christian God, a faith Harold embraced and promoted, thus merging traditional Norse symbols with new spiritual paradigms. The runic inscriptions themselves are more than letters, they are deliberate symbols imbued with meaning. Runes, considered by the Norse to carry magical potency, were thought to contain more than phonetic value. They could influence fate, protect communities, and memorialize significant events. Carving these symbols into stone was both an act of devotion and a deliberate political gesture, asserting Harold's power, piety, and permanence. Beyond their inscriptions, the stone's location is equally significant. Placed on the hill of Gelling, overlooking fertile lands and near burial mounds, these stones occupy a liminal space between earth and sky, life and death, past and present. The site was carefully chosen to reinforce Harold's message that his lineage, his rule, and his faith were anchored in both the sacred and the tangible, commanding the attention and respect of all who approached. Archaeologists and historians studying the gelling stones have marveled not only at the artistry, but at the insight they provide into early medieval Denmark. These stones encapsulate a transformative era, one in which the Viking world was navigating the complexities of kingship, faith, and cultural integration. The inscriptions reference both pagan traditions and the adoption of Christianity, a spiritual and political fusion that would define Scandinavian society for generations. Every curve, every carved serpent, every carefully chosen rune speaks to a society aware of its past, conscious of its present, and deliberate in shaping its future. The gelling stone's enduring presence reminds us that history is not only written in texts but in stone, that memory can be etched in ways that survive the erosion of centuries, and that human beings have always sought permanence in a world defined by change. Modern visitors to the site often describe a sensation that is difficult to articulate, a quiet awareness that they are standing in the presence of something larger than themselves. The stones radiate both artistry and authority, a combination that communicates across time. As sunlight moves across the carved surfaces, the play of light and shadow animates the runes and the serpents, revealing the subtle intricacies of Viking design and the care with which these monuments were created. Every time the eye traces the carved lines, one is reminded of the patience, skill, and devotion required to craft messages meant to endure centuries. The gelling stones also offer insight into the linguistic development of runes. The inscriptions are early examples of the runic alphabet adapted for monumental purposes, demonstrating how language and art intertwined to serve both political and spiritual ends. Harold's careful choice of words, phrasing, and symbols reveals an acute awareness of the communicative power of stone. This melding of language, symbolism, and artistry created a narrative that could be understood by many, spoken through the silent voice of stone to audiences both immediate and distant. Beyond the historical and linguistic significance, there is a spiritual dimension to the gelling stones that continues to fascinate. Serpent motifs, Christian crosses, and the runic inscriptions collectively create a visual dialogue between different belief systems, emphasizing continuity and transformation. The stones are at once memorials, religious symbols, and political proclamations, conveying a complex understanding of power, faith, and memory that transcends their material form. As the centuries passed, the stones endured storms, frost, and human interference, yet they remain remarkably intact, a testament to the enduring quality of the craftsmanship and the significance of their message. Each year, scholars, students, and travelers come to Gelling to witness these stones, drawn not only by curiosity but by the desire to connect with a tangible piece of history that embodies the hopes, fears, and aspirations of a people long gone. Standing before them, one cannot help but reflect on the passage of time, the impermanence of human life, and the desire to create something that transcends mortality. The gelling stones remind us that even in a world of constant change, there are anchors, moments, objects, and monuments that preserve memory, identity, and cultural heritage. They speak of kings who sought to unify lands, of faiths that converged and diverged, of artisans whose skill turned rock into enduring testament. They remind us that behind every carved line lies intention, belief, and the human longing for permanence. In their silence, the stones continue to narrate, bridging centuries with a quiet dignity, whispering stories of kings, faith, artistry, and the enduring human desire to leave a mark on the world. The legacy of the gelling stones is not only in the inscriptions themselves but in the continued fascination and study they inspire. Modern techniques from 3D scanning to microscopic analysis reveal further details of carving techniques, tool marks, and wear patterns, providing insight into Viking craftsmanship and ritual practice. Each discovery adds depth to our understanding of these stones, enhancing appreciation for their complexity and the society that produced them. In essence, the gelling stones are more than historical artifacts. They are living witnesses to a civilization negotiating identity, power, and faith. They offer an intimate glimpse into the mind of Harold Bluetooth, into the artisan's skill, into the spiritual worldview of a people who understood the weight of words and the permanence of stone. By tracing the lines of serpents, observing the careful placement of runes, and contemplating the hill on which they stand, we connect across time with a civilization that valued memory, authority, and beauty. They speak, quietly yet persistently, to every observer who pauses to listen, reminding us that human creativity, devotion, and the desire to leave a lasting mark are universal, timeless, and profoundly moving. The gelling stones, in their serene majesty, continue to tell their story, and as long as eyes meet their carved surfaces, as long as hearts reflect on their meaning, they remain ever alive, narrating the past to the present, connecting generations through stone, faith, and the indomitable human spirit. As one lingers in the presence of the gelling stones, the mind begins to wander through the centuries, imagining the hands that carved each rune, the hammers striking chisels against dense limestone, sparks of dedication flying with every deliberate motion. These stones were not created in haste, they were conceived with intention, each symbol meticulously placed to convey meaning, to tell a story meant to endure long after the king who commissioned them had passed. Harold Bluetooth, the king behind the monumental inscriptions, was not only a ruler of men but a master of symbolism, understanding that power is not solely enforced through armies or fortresses, but through enduring memory, etched into the very landscape. The hill of gelling itself seems to participate in this tale, rising gently from the surrounding lands, a natural stage for monuments meant to inspire awe and command respect. On quiet days, when the wind brushes softly over the carved surfaces, one can almost hear the echoes of the past, the murmurs of people who lived in Harold's time, the whispered prayers for protection, the chants of scribes and artisans laboring under the sun. The serpentine patterns twist across the stones like rivers of memory, their loops and knots holding stories of ancestors, of gods, of victories and reconciliations, a tapestry of human experience frozen in stone. Scholars and enthusiasts alike have often remarked on the duality present in the carvings, the blend of pagan motifs and Christian symbols, each carefully balanced to convey a society in transition, negotiating old beliefs with new faiths. This juxtaposition of symbols demonstrates a profound understanding of communication. Harold's runes speak to both tradition and change, assuring his people that continuity remains even amidst transformation. The inscriptions on the gelling stones are also remarkable for their linguistic richness, a snapshot of early medieval Danish language, demonstrating how the written word evolved to record history and convey authority. Each rune is both a letter and a symbol, a vessel of cultural meaning, and a conduit between the mortal and the divine. One can imagine the rituals that may have accompanied the erection of these stones, the ceremonial gatherings of nobles and commoners alike, the offerings made to gods, the prayers for prosperity and protection, and the solemn acknowledgement of ancestors whose memory was woven into the narrative of the realm. Beyond their ceremonial purpose, the gelling stones serve as educational tools for generations, teaching observers about the lineage of rulers, the integration of faiths, and the artistry of the Viking Age. The stones are archives in stone, durable records that have survived countless storms, wars, and changes in society, preserving stories that might otherwise have been lost to time. Modern visitors often find themselves contemplating the meticulous detail of each carving, tracing the lines of serpents, crosses, and runes with their eyes, feeling a connection to artisans who lived more than a millennium ago. In the intricate patterns, one sees the care, the reverence, and the patience that characterized Viking craftsmanship, a testament to the enduring human desire to leave a mark upon the world. The gelling stones also challenge contemporary viewers to reflect on the concept of permanence itself. In an age of digital records and fleeting attention spans, these stones remain steadfast and resolute, communicating their message silently but powerfully, a reminder that some creations are meant to transcend the limitations of time. Archaeologists and historians continue to study the stones, using advanced technologies to uncover new details about their construction, the tools used, and the societal context in which they were created. Every discovery enriches our understanding of Viking society, shedding light on governance, spirituality, artistry, and social hierarchies. There is a profound beauty in the stones' ability to communicate across centuries, in their capacity to convey not only names and deeds but the very essence of a civilization. Standing in their presence, one senses the weight of history and the enduring power of memory. The stones invite contemplation, urging us to consider our own legacies and the ways we seek to leave lasting impressions in the world. They remind us that history is not only recorded in texts or artifacts, but in the deliberate creative acts of human beings who sought to be remembered, who understood that life's fleeting moments could be immortalized through craft, devotion, and artistry. As the sun shifts across the sky, shadows lengthen over the serpentine motifs, revealing new perspectives with every glance, a dynamic interplay of light and form that brings the carvings to life, even centuries after they were created. One can imagine the awe of those who first beheld these stones, the reverence with which they approached the carvings, the silent understanding that they were in the presence of something both sacred and authoritative. The gelling stones continue to speak, not in voices of flesh but in the silent eloquence of stone, bridging gaps of time and space, connecting the modern observer with kings, artisans, and ordinary people who lived 1,000 years ago. They are enduring symbols of memory, identity, and creativity, reflecting both the impermanence of life and the permanence of intention. Each rune carved into the limestone is a testament to the human desire to communicate, to preserve, and to honor. These stones whisper of kings who sought unity, of faiths that intertwined, of artisans whose skill transformed rock into narrative, and of a society that understood the weight of legacy. In their silence, they teach, inspire, and endure, offering a rare and intimate glimpse into the Viking Age. The gelling stones, through their presence and artistry, remind us that history is alive not only in stories and texts but in the very stones upon which those stories are inscribed. They are living connections to the past, anchors of memory, and vessels of culture. To stand before them is to witness the interplay of power, faith, and creativity, to feel the pulse of a civilization that valued both permanence and expression. Every visitor who walks the paths around the stones, every scholar who studies their lines, and every historian who seeks to understand their significance, participates in an ongoing dialogue with the past, continuing the narrative that Harold Bluetooth began over 1,000 years ago. The gelling stones remain not only artifacts but storytellers, silent yet profound, offering their wisdom, their artistry, and their history to all who pause, look, and listen. They endure as guardians of memory, as keepers of legacy, and as reminders that the human desire to be remembered, to communicate, and to create transcends the boundaries of time. In their unyielding silence, the gelling stones speak louder than words, echoing through centuries, carrying the echoes of kings, artisans, and a people whose cultural vision remains immortal. To walk among them is to enter a continuum of history, to feel the weight of human ambition and artistry, and to recognize the enduring power of stone as a medium of memory, authority, and expression. The Tlaloc figurines. The Tlaloc figurines are small clay creations, often no more than a few inches tall, yet they carry within them a weight of history and cultural significance that belies their size. Found in the ancient Tlaloc archaeological site near modern-day Mexico City, these figurines date back to around 1200–800 BCE, part of the formative period of Mesoamerican civilization. Despite their diminutive size, each figure is meticulously crafted, revealing a delicate attention to detail that has captivated archaeologists and art historians for decades. Their forms are diverse. Some depict women, others men, and yet others possess dual faces or conjoined bodies, hinting at a complex understanding of human identity, duality, and perhaps even spirituality or cosmology. The artistry of the Tlaloc figurines is remarkable, not only in their anatomy, but also in the expressions they convey. Tiny eyes, slightly parted lips, and carefully modeled hair or headdresses imbue each figurine with a sense of personality, as if these small creations might once have walked among the living, carrying their stories and secrets. Many of the figurines are seated, sometimes in meditative or ritualistic poses, their hands resting delicately on their knees or thighs, suggesting a practice of reverence or contemplation. Some are adorned with elaborate hairstyles or decorations, which provide crucial insight into the social and cultural practices of the Tlaloc people, hinting at beauty standards, ceremonial roles, or social hierarchy within the community. Perhaps most intriguing are the figurines with dual or multiple faces. Scholars have long debated their meaning, some suggesting they represent the duality of human nature, the coexistence of life and death, or the spiritual concept of a soul existing in more than one form. Others theorize that these figures might depict mythical or ancestral beings, intermediaries between the human and divine realms. In some cases, the figurines exhibit deformities or exaggerated features, which may not have been mistakes but intentional representations of rare or supernatural characteristics, reinforcing the idea that these were symbolic as much as they were artistic. The Tlaloc figurines are often discovered in burial contexts, suggesting they held a significant role in funerary rites or rituals. Placed alongside the dead, They may have served as companions, protectors, or symbolic representations of the deceased's identity, beliefs, or status. Each burial site provides unique insight into the relationship between the living and the dead. In Tlatelolco society, the reverence for ancestors and the integration of art into everyday spiritual and social practices. The figurines are made from clay, often molded and fired with skillful precision. Despite being over 3,000 years old, many retain traces of pigmentation, which suggests they were once painted with bright colors, bringing life and vibrancy to their forms. The presence of paint not only enhanced their aesthetic appeal, but also likely carried symbolic meaning. Colors might have represented gender, spiritual qualities, or ritual functions. Handling the Tlatelolco figurines, one can almost feel the hands of the artisans, small as they were, carefully shaping every curve and line, imagining the world through which they walked. The figurines serve as tangible links to an ancient society, preserving its culture, beliefs, and artistic sensibilities. Some of the most famous Tlatelolco figurines feature two faces merged on a single head, an unsettling yet fascinating portrayal that continues to puzzle researchers. These dual-faced figures might symbolize the duality of existence, the balance between opposing forces, or even the complexity of personal identity. In a world that was both familiar and foreign to us, these figures remind us that the people of Tlatelolco were thoughtful, imaginative, and deeply engaged with the mysteries of life and death. The figurines also provide insight into gender roles and societal structure. Many depict women in maternal or seated positions, sometimes with exaggerated features that emphasize fertility or nurturing. This focus on femininity suggests a society that revered female roles, potentially linking them to life-giving powers, community cohesion, or spiritual authority. Conversely, the male figurines, while less numerous, often exhibit strength, stature, or symbolic attributes, offering a glimpse into the gendered division of roles, responsibilities, and spiritual functions within Tlatelolco society. Beyond their anthropological and artistic value, the Tlatelolco figurines also hold a mysterious quality that has captivated collectors and historians alike. Each figurine, though small, carries an air of individuality, as though it might hold secrets, memories, or a fragment of the soul of the person or community it represents. It is this intimate connection, preserved through clay and time, that continues to fascinate those who study or behold them. The discovery of these figurines was itself a journey through layers of history. Archaeologists uncovered them amidst ancient village remains, in burial sites, and in domestic contexts, each setting offering clues about their purpose, use, and significance. Every figurine, no matter how modest, is a piece of a larger puzzle, revealing the complexity of life, spirituality, and artistic expression in Tlatelolco society. Some figurines show signs of wear or repair, suggesting they were cherished objects, passed from hand to hand, perhaps even used across generations, reinforcing their role as enduring symbols of memory, identity, and cultural continuity. In studying the Tlatelolco figurines, modern observers cannot help but be drawn into a dialogue across millennia. What were these figures meant to communicate? How did they shape the daily lives, rituals, and spiritual beliefs of the people who created them? Each tiny form invites speculation, imagination, and wonder. The intricacy of these figurines also speaks to the technological and artistic achievements of the Tlatelolco people. The precision of their shapes, the finesse of their modeling, and the subtlety of their expressions reflect not only skill, but also the cultural importance of art in human society, highlighting how aesthetic creation has always been intertwined with identity, ritual, and meaning. In many ways, the Tlatelolco figurines are timeless teachers, reminding us that even in ancient times, people sought to understand the world around them, to honor life and death, and to express themselves creatively. They capture a moment, a belief, a thought, frozen in clay but living in imagination. As modern observers, we are invited to witness their stories, to contemplate the lives they hint at, and to marvel at the skill and insight of those who lived thousands of years ago. These figurines continue to inspire, offering lessons in artistry, culture, spirituality, and the human desire to create and preserve. Each one stands as a testament to the ingenuity and thoughtfulness of a civilization that, while long gone, left behind small yet profound echoes of its existence. They remind us that history is composed not only of grand structures or monumental events, but also of the quiet, intricate, and deeply human creations that carry meaning across the ages. The Tlatelolco figurines endure, whispering through centuries, their silent voices telling stories of life, death, identity, and belief, waiting for those willing to pause, observe, and listen. In every detail, the curve of a shoulder, the tilt of a head, the expression of a face, there is a story, an invitation, a memory, and a reflection of the human spirit, remarkably preserved in clay. Their silent narratives continue to resonate, drawing us closer to the people who shaped them and the society in which they lived. And in the quiet contemplation of these figures, one cannot help but feel a connection to the ancient world, a bridge across time, formed by the delicate yet enduring language of art, culture, and human creativity. As we continue our journey into the world of the Tlatelolco figurines, it becomes clear that these small clay forms were not mere decorations or toys, but profound vessels of cultural meaning, holding within them the values, fears, and hopes of an ancient society. Each figurine, though silent now, once occupied a space filled with life, ceremony, and ritual. Archaeologists suggest that their placement in tombs was intentional, a symbolic act of ensuring protection, companionship, or guidance for the deceased in the afterlife. Imagine a young mother or father in Tlatelolco, delicately placing a figurine beside a loved one, believing that the small figure would carry prayers, watch over the departed, or even act as a bridge between the living and the unseen world. The tactile nature of these figurines is equally compelling. Many were modeled with a soft, rounded hand, careful fingers, and fine details on clothing and hairstyles. They were crafted to be held, to be touched, to be part of human interaction. Unlike monumental statues that loom over a viewer, these figurines demanded intimacy, drawing individuals into a personal dialogue with the past, inviting them to imagine the lives they once observed and protected. Among the most extraordinary are the figurines with dual or even triple faces, rare forms that seem to defy straightforward interpretation. Scholars debate whether these multiple faces symbolize duality in human nature, a connection to the spirit world, or perhaps a ritualistic embodiment of transformation. Some have proposed that these figures represent the liminal spaces between life and death, between the mortal and the divine. Holding one of these figurines, it's easy to feel a sense of the mystical, as if the creator imbued it with the power to reflect both the seen and unseen realms. Furthermore, the Tlatelolco figurines provide valuable insight into health, medicine, and societal awareness. Several figures exhibit physical deformities or anomalies that might have represented actual conditions observed within the population, or they could signify supernatural attributes, marking the bearer as sacred, wise, or spiritually potent. Such depictions highlight a society attentive to the human condition, one that integrated physical realities with spiritual beliefs, understanding the body as both natural and symbolic. The artistic skill evident in the Tlatelolco figurines is also astonishing. The artisans worked with local clay, sometimes mixing it with tempering materials to achieve durability, and carefully fired each figure in kilns to ensure longevity. Many figurines retain traces of pigments, suggesting that vibrant colors once adorned them, making the figures even more lifelike and visually striking. The colors themselves might have carried significance: reds for vitality, blues for spiritual depth, whites for purity, or blacks for protection. In this way, the figurines were more than sculptural objects. They were vibrant, colored vessels of meaning, communicating ideas visually, spiritually, and emotionally. Beyond the artistry, the figurines offer a glimpse into the daily lives and values of the Tlatelolco people. Some appear to wear elaborate jewelry, intricate headdresses, or patterned clothing, suggesting social distinctions, ceremonial attire, or cultural ideals of beauty. The attention to such details demonstrates that the Tlatelolco were keen observers of human society, capturing both ordinary and extraordinary aspects of their world in miniature form. There is also a fascinating interplay between play, ritual, and artistic expression in these figurines. While many were placed in graves, others may have been used in domestic contexts, perhaps for teaching, ritual games, or symbolic storytelling. In this sense, the figurines were dynamic, serving multiple functions that blurred the boundaries between art, spirituality, and everyday life. The context in which they were discovered adds layers to their story. Archaeological excavations reveal that the Tlatelolco settlements were sophisticated, with organized housing, communal spaces, and evidence of craft specialization. The figurines, often found alongside pottery, tools, and ornaments, indicate a society that valued symbolism, memory, and creative expression, embedding meaning into objects that would outlast generations. In contemplating these figurines, one cannot overlook their universal resonance. Despite being thousands of years old, they evoke questions that remain relevant. How did humans understand identity, duality, and mortality in ancient times? How do material objects carry intangible ideas across centuries? The Tlatelolco figurines stand as enduring testaments to the human desire to understand life, honor ancestors, and communicate across time. Even their small size speaks to a philosophy that magnitude is not measured in scale, but in intention and depth. Modern scholars continue to study these figures, using techniques such as 3D scanning, pigment analysis, and comparative cultural studies to uncover new details about their construction, use, and meaning. Each discovery reveals more about the ingenuity and complexity of the Tlatelolco civilization, highlighting a people deeply connected to the cycles of life, the mysteries of the spirit, and the artistry of expression. The figurines' continued ability to captivate viewers today is a testament to their power. Holding a Tlatelolco figurine, imagining the hands that shaped it, and envisioning the rituals it witnessed, one feels a bridge between past and present, a direct link to human creativity that transcends millennia. In many ways, these figures embody the eternal human quest to preserve memory, identity, and connection. They remind us that even in ancient times, people understood the potency of small, carefully crafted objects to communicate stories, encode belief systems, and carry cultural values. And so, the Tlatelolco figurines endure, their silent forms whispering stories that span thousands of years, offering glimpses into a world both distant and intimately human. Their presence is a quiet yet profound reminder that art, ritual, and the human desire to understand life are timeless. They ask us to slow down, to observe, and to listen, not with ears alone, but with imagination and empathy. Every curve, every dual face, every intricate detail speaks of a society that pondered existence, celebrated human complexity, and sought to leave behind more than just traces in the soil. Each figurine is a message in clay, a fragment of thought, a witness to life, ritual, and belief, waiting patiently for modern eyes to see and modern minds to contemplate. They challenge us to recognize that the ordinary hands, faces, seated forms can carry extraordinary meaning across millennia. In the quiet presence of these figurines, one finds reflection, curiosity, and connection, a meditation on the enduring power of human creativity. From the smallest figurine depicting a seated woman, to the dual-faced figures with mysterious expressions, the Tlatelolco figurines remain unparalleled in their ability to evoke wonder, contemplation, and awe. Through them, we hear echoes of a civilization that, though vanished, continues to communicate, inspire, and teach. They remind us that the legacy of human ingenuity is not only monumental architecture or written history, but also the small, intimate objects that encapsulate thought, belief, and artistry. And as we explore each delicate clay form, the realization becomes clear: the Tlatelolco figurines are more than artifacts. They are enduring companions of imagination, storytellers across centuries, and tangible connections to the people who shaped the dawn of Mesoamerican civilization. They invite us to imagine, to reflect, and to recognize that the stories of our past are not only written in stone and metal, but molded in clay, preserved with care, and waiting for those willing to pause and listen. The Nebelivka megastructure. The Nebelivka megastructure rises from the mists of prehistory as a monument to human ambition, organization, and ingenuity. Nestled in the fertile landscapes of modern Ukraine, this Copper Age settlement, dating back over 5,000 years, reveals a level of architectural sophistication that challenges our assumptions about ancient communities. Imagine a sprawling city, one of the largest of its era. Its streets carefully laid out, its dwellings arranged in orderly patterns, all constructed with remarkable planning and forethought. Archaeologists have been captivated by the scale and precision of Nebelivka, where hundreds of houses and communal structures formed a dense interconnected settlement, suggesting not only a populous city, but a society capable of complex social coordination. Walking through the remnants, one can almost hear the echoes of daily life: children running along packed earth lanes, the rhythmic pounding of tools shaping clay and timber, merchants negotiating the exchange of grain, pottery, and crafted goods. Every house, uniform yet subtly distinct, tells a story of domestic life and the role of the family unit within the larger society. Each wall, each corner, each threshold was not only a practical necessity, but a testament to the community's understanding of space, privacy, and social interaction. The layout of Nebelivka, with its grid-like streets and organized clusters of dwellings, suggests a society that valued order, communal cooperation, and perhaps hierarchy. Unlike smaller, scattered settlements of the time, this city required coordination, shared labor, and shared knowledge, hinting at leadership structures, collective decision-making, and cultural norms that facilitated such an ambitious urban project. At the heart of the settlement, archaeologists have identified larger structures that may have served as communal halls, places of ritual, or centers of governance, where decisions affecting the entire population were made. These central buildings, often more robustly constructed, likely acted as both physical and symbolic anchors for the community, emphasizing the interconnectedness of daily life and collective identity. The materials used at Nebelivka, sun-dried mud bricks, timber, and clay, reveal not only technological ingenuity, but also a deep understanding of local resources, climate adaptation, and long-term sustainability. Each brick, carefully molded and baked by sun and labor, contributed to structures that could withstand the passage of time, echoing the residents' desire for permanence and resilience. Beyond architecture, the artifacts uncovered at Nebelivka paint a vivid portrait of cultural life. Pottery adorned with geometric patterns, figurines that may have played roles in ritual or domestic contexts, and tools for farming, weaving, and crafting all suggest a society that integrated work, art, and spiritual life seamlessly. These objects, while functional, also carry aesthetic and symbolic significance, demonstrating that the inhabitants of Nebelivka were not only survivors but creators, thinkers, and storytellers. The discovery of the settlement has challenged long-held assumptions about the capabilities of Copper Age societies. The scale of Nebelivka, its population density, and the sophistication of its layout suggest a level of urban planning previously thought to emerge much later in human history. It invites scholars to reconsider the timeline of social complexity, economic organization, and technological advancement in prehistoric Europe. Walking among the ruins today, one cannot help but feel a sense of awe. The circular and rectangular dwellings, the open courtyards, the deliberate arrangement of homes and streets, all reflect a society that had a vision, an understanding of communal living, and the ability to implement ideas on a monumental scale. The megastructure also hints at the social dynamics of Nebelivka. The uniformity of houses suggests a degree of equality among residents, yet the presence of larger structures implies leadership or communal authority. Ritual, governance, and daily life were intertwined, and the settlement itself acted as a physical manifestation of societal values, blending functionality with symbolic meaning. Seasonal rhythms likely dictated the lives of Nebelivka's residents. Agricultural cycles would have determined planting, harvesting, and storage practices, while the construction of homes and communal spaces reflected both practical needs and social cohesion. Festivals, rituals, and communal gatherings might have punctuated the calendar, reinforcing social bonds and collective identity. The discovery of ceramics, stone tools, and crafted ornaments within homes provides a glimpse into both mundane and ceremonial life, suggesting that everyday activity was imbued with cultural significance. Each artifact is a portal into human thought, creativity, and aspiration, preserved in clay, stone, and earth. Nebelivka challenges us to see prehistoric people not as primitive, but as sophisticated, adaptable, and visionary. The sheer scale of the settlement indicates long-term planning, resource management, and societal collaboration on a scale that few contemporaneous settlements could match. It reflects a society capable of innovation, problem-solving, and cooperation, reminding us that human ingenuity has deep roots. Furthermore, the settlement's layout shows an understanding of defense, resource distribution, and social interaction, hinting at complex relationships with neighboring communities. Trade networks, communication, and cultural exchange were likely integral, connecting Nebelivka to a broader prehistoric world. Each stone, brick, and artifact is a message across time, inviting us to reconstruct the lives, ambitions, and values of a civilization that flourished thousands of years before the modern age. In studying Nebelivka, archaeologists engage in a dialogue with the past, interpreting spatial patterns, material culture, and settlement dynamics to piece together a civilization that speaks through the remnants it left behind. The megastructure is not only a monument to architectural achievement, but a living testament to the human desire for community, permanence, and meaning. It teaches us that the urge to build, organize, and create transcends millennia, connecting the Copper Age inhabitants of Ukraine to us today. Walking among the ruins, one can almost hear the echoes of work, laughter, negotiation, ritual, and reflection. Nebelivka is a city frozen in time, yet alive in imagination, a place where the past whispers lessons about social complexity, cooperation, and the enduring human drive to shape the world. It reminds us that even in the distant past, humans were capable of vision, creativity, and intricate social organization, leaving behind more than just tools and homes, but legacies that continue to inspire and fascinate. The Nebelivka megastructure stands as a profound symbol of our shared humanity, a reminder that cities, societies, and dreams are not exclusively modern inventions but ideas that have been nurtured, refined, and realized by generations stretching back into prehistory. Its discovery challenges our perception of the Copper Age, revealing that communities could thrive, innovate, and organize on an unprecedented scale, shaping not only their environment but the course of human history. And so, as we examine every wall, pathway, and artifact of Nebelivka, we step into a world that feels distant yet intimately human, a world that invites curiosity, reflection, and awe. The megastructure is a silent witness to ambition, ingenuity, and social complexity, a testament to the creativity of early humans, and a reminder that the past has stories that continue to echo through time, waiting for those who pause, observe, and listen. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history's hidden treasures. If you enjoyed the video, please hit subscribe and like, and let us know where you're watching from. Until next time, keep exploring the secrets of the past.